everyone. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate, and I have Matthew with me again tonight. And I was going to say thank you for last weekend. I was not in a good place in my head, and I shared that with you all, and I appreciate just how much love and support I received from all of you. And another thing is I didn't mind admitting that to you as well because we just are going to have days like this. There's going to be some days where we're just more disturbed about things and or depressed about things, and it's good to pay attention to why. And I kept saying last time I looked at too many videos. I took in too much of the um, traumatic videos and stuff of the murder of Renee Good. We have ICE um, in Minnesota, Minneapolis, and then there's people that are of the community that are standing up to them, and it's something I'm very proud of, and at the same time I'm very concerned about the residents of Minnesota and stuff. That's all, they are also here in Southern California, which is not being mentioned um, in places like Downey, Riverside, um, Montebello, which are all places in Southern California. So it's very tough for my psyche to watch too much traumatic things, and that's just the way I am. So um, I've always hoped to get a better, um, like thicker skin to where I can hang with certain things, like as if I'm going to finally grow up again and be able to. And it's just not the way it is with me. So I see that sensitivity as the double-edged sword of my intuition, which they just go hand in hand. So um, I'm thankful for the intuition that I've been able to tap into, and tune into, which is something I encourage you as well to do. And I also know that that's the other side of it that isn't so easy to comprehend or to receive, and it involves a lot of fear. So the fact is, the things that we are seeing happening in the United States at this time is to cause fear, is to cause the results of what I was going through last weekend. And if there's any way to stay up to date with things, or and have a mindset of knowing your limits, it's a good thing. It's better for you psychologically. When we were in the organization, we saw things over and over again that we didn't realize were traumatizing us. Things such as my book of Bible stories. Even before that was a book called Paradise Lost, Paradise Gained. And it was like a Pepto-Bismol pink or kind of orangey. And that had a lot of pictures in it of what Armageddon will look like, where the earth opened up, and you would see people and cars and bicycles and dogs and children, falling down these huge holes and stuff. So we would see dead people on the ground that have been destroyed by Jehovah. And being that nobody has a security of their salvation, I, growing up, never knew if Jehovah would help me through Armageddon or not, or if I would be destroyed. The feedback I got from, the organization and from my family was that, of course, I was not good enough, so I assumed I would not make it. So that mindset with the pictures and stuff that I was looking at was very traumatic. So that's pretty, typical of how someone can do what is called trauma bonding. Okay. And it's so strange. Trauma bonding is actually something that gets you to bond with your perpetrator. You get traumatized to bond with your perpetrator. I know I've heard people talk about it as, let's get together and talk about our trauma and we can bond that way. But sure, you can do that, but that's truly not the definition of trauma bonding. It's very much your perpetrator traumatizes you for you to have a bond with them. And it's, if you recall, Stockholm Syndrome was discovered after a bank robbery in Stockholm, and people were taken hostage by people that robbed a bank. Okay. And once they were released, these hostages were released, they were very concerned about the people that robbed the bank, how they were doing and stuff. And psychiatrists and psychologists were just like, what is this? You know, so they had to do some studying, and then they came up with that bonding that happens with a perpetrator. And that's the Stockholm Syndrome, which there's so much more to it than that. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a previous hairdresser. I can still do hair, but I've learned about things regarding growing up in this organization and the practices and techniques and tactics that abusive people and groups do use on others to help them, to recruit them and to help them stick around. And if they begin to leave, and I know I've mentioned this to you before, is that cult leaders are like narcissists. So if you go to leave, they're usually not okay with that, and they'll pull you back somehow, and then they'll dump you because they're not going to tolerate you leaving them. No, they're going to leave you, and they are going to discard you once they have no use of you. And if you're not, cooperating with the system, you will be discarded. And so I've mentioned how many things that are used within a toxic relationship or group or cult, I've noticed showing up within politics of the United States. And different people have been let go from working under Trump because they were disloyal. So he not only got rid of them, but also gave them a smear campaign afterwards. Okay. Now, when someone is disfellowshipped, a smear campaign follows that as well. Okay. Whatever it's going to sound like. They were disloyal. They were, they never were really a Christian in the first place. All this, it's a smear campaign so that you, as a person who might be a follower, would not want to approach them, to talk to them. And the understanding of shunning them, this whole combination of things that you would do that really makes sure that the defector, the person that leaves, is silenced. Okay. That's usually a reason to discard of them. What's happening within the United States is that Trump has very loyal people in his administration, and that shows up. They're not necessarily qualified for the position that they're in, even though Trump has put them in there. If he puts the name tag on them or the name for them, gives them the title, they hold that position and they get that power, even if they haven't been trained to have that position. That takes me to, if you've ever seen there was a prison experiment done here in California. I believe it was in the 70s, late 70s, where a teacher decided to do an experiment of mostly students from the college that he was teaching at, and put an ad in the paper, that they were going to do this experiment. Then they checked how they were psychologically to see if they would be up for it. And then they proceeded with this experiment. And what was done within this experiment is some of the students, and they were all men, by the way, all men, Some ended up being put in the position of being a prisoner, and some were put in a position of being security guards. Mind you, none of them, the security guards were never trained how to be security guards, but they were given that position, so to speak, that name tag. So they literally would show up, like a police officer would show up at these kids, they weren't kids, they were young adults, homes, and arrest them, the ones that were going to be prisoners. So they went through getting fingerprinted and everything. And in the basement of this college, there was a mock prison set up. And certain sections were sections where prisoners went, and other sections was where the security guards would go. And within that experiment, what ended up happening was the prison guards having that authority, having that placement, having that position, again, not being trained for it, ended up abusing their position of power, abusing their position of authority, and ended up treating the prisoners in a very inhumane way. Yes, when people go to prison, they're treated pretty differently. You do lose some rights from when you're in society at large, but there are some standards that are not to be crossed within a prison, okay? But they also get to do some, inconvenient, they get to talk down to you, they get to dehumanize you, and make sure that you know your place, and make sure that you understand their position, and you are to respect the prison guards. But in this situation with this experiment, the prison guards ended up abusing their position of power and their position of authority. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I see that very similar to what elders might be going through when they're given a position of authority, a position of power within the congregation. I'm not saying that their hearts are not in the right place, because I believe many of the elders have a good heart and want to serve Jehovah. But once they get involved in that culture of being a ministerial servant or an elder, they're spoken to in such a way that that in the afterlife they're going to have a better position than those that are just in the congregation. So they're given a pep talk of how they're so much better than the ordinary rank and file congregation. So that gives them a bit of a booster, kind of a booster shot of you're better than the ones in the congregation that are just rank and file. And then I've learned all these other things of these different ranks within the congregation. But and I do believe there are elders out there that take their position and would not want to abuse their position of authority or in power, and have a good way of speaking to witnesses, even when they get to talk to them one-on-one. They don't have an authoritative attitude, but more of a meeting someone shoulder to shoulder. I believe that does happen with elders. So, but the ones that let it go to their heads or abuse their position of power and authority, unfortunately, this affects the rank and file. I've heard of many different judicial committees where the person being questioned ends up being talked to basically in a dehumanizing way. So that affects their psyche. And because we've been trained to believe that they were placed there by Holy Spirit, it's as though it is Jehovah telling us these things, because there's this hierarchy of Jehovah and Jesus and the governing body, and then whatever they're called today, this other level, and then it goes into the elders and ministerial servants, and then down to the followers. So it's explained to us that the chain of command is of Jehovah telling us, you know, what he would have us do, how he would have us think, how he would have us behave. So when we're getting talked to by elders and we push back, that could, not every time, but that could put you in a position of being told that you're not humble, that you're not being submissive to their authority. Okay, and which then makes you question whether you're being humble to Jesus or to Jehovah. So this kind of stuff is plays out, and then of course there's the culture of patriarchy within pretty much all Abrahamic religions. So doing something like this, actually looking at you straight face forward, looking at all of you, was never something I was allowed to do at a Kingdom Hall. I had to turn to the side and talk to another woman, and you could watch an example of something such as how I would behave at the front door, going door to door. That's how you could be taught, not so we have Grey Wolf joining us. Welcome.
Hey,
How are you?
rough day.
Yeah, it has been. And let me just say right here and now, we've had it. There has been another killing today.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's one of the parts of what's making this a rough day.
Yes, that's
And
yes.
I just nearly lost nearly the entire chapter of what I've been working on for the past few days.
Oh no, no.
Yeah, the
Oh,
glitch on my computer. Fortunately, I was able to find most of it. Unfortunately, I lost the really strong beat I had written, but
okay.
I'll have to recreate that as much as I can.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's very tough.
Glad you're here, Mage Grey Wolf, and sorry for that accent, but you may just find that your greatest creativity comes from this. And it's nice that you've been able to recover most of it, but you may actually find that that thing that you were in the groove about is going to become more sublime. It came from you to begin with.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to tell him. You read my mind, Matthew. It's already in you. Yeah. That's so awesome, Matthew. Thank you for saying that. So I was talking about placement of authority, and so here in the United States, we have agents that are showing up who hold authority over us citizens. Okay, the rules are is we're not supposed to resist if they approach us, but the way they're approaching us is startling the crap out of us and making us naturally want to react. So that makes it to where they want to take over even more. And
Yeah.
also, we have citizens, which I'm also very proud of, that are coming around shouting at these agents. They could be border control, they could be with ICE. But what they are in is fatigues, and they've got guns, and they're very intimidating. They cover their faces. And so we don't know who they are. They don't identify themselves. And if you're taken by them, you're taken in a car that's not identifiable either, and taken to who knows where. Okay, they have holding centers, and it takes a while for a family member to find them or a lawyer to find them. And they are often turned away when they want to see their family members. There's also 2 children that I'm not going to get into today because I don't know enough about that situation that ICE have taken in as well. I don't know the whole circumstances, so I'm not going to speak on it. So a man has been killed today. And from what I understand, this man was a Vietnam vet, worked at the Veterans Hospital.
He's an RN.
RN, yes.
Yeah.
And he was guiding some traffic. Why? I'm not sure. Recently, there was a gal that was trying to get into a driveway to go see her doctor, she was being informed, keep moving, keep moving. She's autistic and having too many people yell at her, and she was kind of stuck. And because usually she'll tune into their mouths to understand what they're saying, because when too many things comes, it's just too much overstimulation for somebody with autism. So she would show, in their minds, she did not move quick enough, so she got taken out of the car, seatbelt cut off, and taken away. So I don't know.
It's a good way of causing the person to go in a complete meltdown.
Yes. And eventually, when she was at the detention center, she, after a while, she did pass out and needed medical care. And so back to this person that was directing traffic. Could it have been so that it would help somebody not get in a situation like this gal that I just mentioned, and I don't remember her name, who was a recent person picked up by ICE because she didn't move quick enough like they told her to do? So I don't know. I don't know why he was directing traffic. Evidently, these agents were approached a woman. She fell down or was knocked down.
She was pushed down.
Pushed down by the agents?
Yeah, by the agents.
Okay. See, getting people to the ground is a thing with these agents. They take you down to the ground. So this man went into automatic, I'm assuming, and I have not seen this. I've not seen it. I'm just talking about what I've heard. And
I have. Yeah, he went over to help her up, and that's when, in about half a dozen, and agents just started pummeling him and just knocking him to the ground, holding him in the ground. At one point, it looks like one of the agents grabbed the gun he had on him. He did have a gun. He did have a gun on him. He didn't go for it. He didn't have it in his hand.
Let me just add here. I've heard it's an open carry state.
Yeah,
correct?
He was licensed with it. It was a license. Okay. He was licensed to be able to have it. It looks like one of the agents took the gun away from him, and you can actually see him one of the agents walking away with the gun in his hand. After that, that's when another agent pulls his gun and shoots him, and then he shoots him 4 or 5 more times after he's already dead, or bleeding out or something.
Yeah. And again, this is my opinion. I picture, there's some people out there, male or female, that when you see somebody drop, or when you see people drop things, they automatically go down to pick them up for somebody else. I picture this man being one of those men that just, if somebody falls down, they automatically go to them to help them up. That's just who they are. Like. Yeah. And so it would come natural to him to do that, but that can be interpreted by these agents as interfering with their activities.
He wasn't interfering.
Now,
I'm not even sure why the woman got pushed down.
Of course we don't. We don't. Of course we don't. They can have their reasons. You know what I'm saying? So helping somebody get up or interrupting what agents are doing could have some consequences. I get that, and I've talked about it even before, but it doesn't deserve for you to be shot dead. And that's what has happened today. Yeah, and when you spoke of his gun, he had it on him. He was not holding it. He was not attempting to use it. It was taken off of his. Yeah,
you can clearly see his hands. He's got his hands clenched while he's on the ground, while he's getting beat up by half a dozen agents. He's not holding the gun. It looks like they take the gun from the holster on him.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
and you don't see him going for the gun either. That's another. Yes. That's another very important thing.
I agree. And now he's dead. And Stephen Miller from the White House has claimed, as well as the vice president has claimed, that whatever they do, meaning these agents, that Trump has dispersed all over the USA get to do whatever they do with immunity, meaning they don't get no consequences. They get none. And once the state tries to do an investigation on these things, along with Renee Good, the people of the Trump's administration takes away all of the information and takes it away and says you guys don't get to do it.
And then they lie about what happened.
Correct. They've lied about this one as well. And instantly, and I mean instantly, before their body, let me just stop now. They are already claiming.
Oh, sorry. You said you were going to stop. I misunderstood. Sorry.
Yeah, they're already claiming them to be terrorists. Renee Good was a terrorist. Okay, this person that we're talking about from today is a terrorist. So they put out information that he was doing something that what film has shown is nothing of the sort. And again, I said I haven't seen it, but I've heard about the play-by-play.
I've seen it from two different, or possibly three different angles, at slow motion, and
right.
I made sure to watch that. It's horrific, but.
What did you want to say, Matthew?
Well, I was just looking at. I was just responding to you saying you're going to stop, and I misunderstood you there. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, it is a moment to kind of breathe, because I was going to ask the question because Mage Grey Wolf is describing our backgrounds. I mean, I'm going, Mage, are you sure you weren't a JW? Are you sure?
I wasn't.
You know, but I think you've hung out with the gang long enough to know the kind of signs and the symptoms, right? But I was going to just ask you and also Linda James. I mean, look, does an autistic person in that situation, you were describing a young woman, right, Linda James?
Yes.
Do they deserve punishment, and do they deserve death? I mean, any system that moves in that direction, you've got to wonder, is it crossing from authority into moral failure?
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah. So grounding this historically and ethically, it's not a new question, because humanity has wrestled with this for a long time. And you're going, well, the way this thing is set up, they've absolutely have looked at history. They're deliberately wanting to do this. And this is universal. It's not modern woke. Here's your ethical baseline, because across the highest ethical traditions, there's a shared principle, and I wanted to hear from you, especially where this is happening right now, because I've seen this happen during the 80s in Zimbabwe with something called Kukuro Hundi, which is, there's some parallels here, and I'll get into that later. Kukuro Hundi, yes. So it was when you had independence from a system that was essentially racist, or that was harming your indigenous African people, and in order to do that, there needed to be some kind of uprising to create pressure. But then when it came into a peaceful situation, the persons who were used didn't fit into that system or that narrative anymore, and they were eliminated. So the persons who were your bullies couldn't continue on, and it led to mass elimination. But I specifically wanted to focus in on the autistic young woman, because I wanted to get your feeling about how a person, are they morally culpable for behavior that they cannot neurologically control? And I think that's why we're feeling this, right?
What do you think, Grey Wolf?
What was the question again? Sorry.
It's a lousy question, but I was just saying, somebody who's got autism, and this is what we saw, and this is what Linda Jones was reporting. How are they morally culpable for behavior that they can't neurologically control? In other words, you've got shouting, "Hey, comply, comply! No, don't! Say, get down!" And they're trying to tune into all of these voices.
That's the authorities escalating things, not the person.
Mm-hmm.
It's on them to de-escalate and try and calm the situation down, and that is not doing that. You have to be aware of that with people who are autistic.
In your writing, Mage, you've done a lot of research from what I've heard in our conversations in the past. You've looked at societies evolving ethically and the shifts that happen, like from punishment to protection, or the response moved from control of people or the person to reduce harm and provide care. That was what we were hoping was going to happen in advanced civilization, but now we're seeing a reversal of this, right?
Yeah. So we could have Star Trek, but instead we'll get Mad Max.
Yeah.
So what? Asylums at their best, not worse, that are replacing prisons. What's that? Arkham Asylum. Or medical care was meant to replace moral judgment. We were supposed to say, well, we've now advanced with medicine, and it influences our governmental control to such a degree that the way that we deal with people includes the medical side. There should be a convergence of knowledge that's going. Well, that's the ideal, right?
Yeah.
But because we've come from abusive situations, or because the channel is identifying these coercive, abusive situations, we become more sensitive to this, and we say, well, hang on, isn't the goal to contain the situation, not to crush the person? We're not eliminating, in this case, ICE or this structure, but we're saying, well, there needs to be a check and balance that's in place, but the fact that it isn't shows that it's contrived, because we've been here. We've looked at this historically. In Africa, we've got Kukurahundi. In USA, wasn't the land of the brave and the land of the free? Wasn't this all about overcoming these abuses? Now we're replicating the same thing. We haven't learned, but then it's deliberate.
Yes. It's really, it initially claimed to be about getting rid of undocumented people, and it's very obvious at this point that is not what it's about any longer. It's not. It's if you defy, you will receive consequences, and it could in fact be death, and it could in fact be a white man or a white woman. There's been a man who had his eye shot out with, I believe, not even like a gun, but one of those things that are supposed to be less than a bullet.
Rubber
lost
bullet.
His eye. Yes, lost his eye. And from what I understand, this is a young man who is transgender. Okay.
Oh.
Now, I'll go absolutely apeshit fucking crazy if I find out the man that was killed today is gay. I'm telling you. I'm just saying. We've got Renee Good, a lesbian. We've got this person who lost their eye, transgender. Yet it's really not. I remember bringing it up on the show going, I'm waiting to see when they're going to even speak about these things, and they haven't. It's been like crickets. And this Christian nationalism, far, far right mega group are very, very vocal about this community as, destroying America, all kinds of, cause of earthquakes, ruins a family, gives people boils, all kinds of ridiculousness. But that's their view, and they're very vocal about it. And it's interesting how they have not been. Okay.
Oh, and yes, their training was reduced from 5 months to 47 days because 47th president, and they're saying, oh, no, we didn't lose anything in the training. Yeah, right. You lose 5 months and condense it down to 47 days, and you don't lose anything. Yep, bull. And
So
also
what?
on the whole criminal going after or unauthorized immigrants and all that. Uh, yeah, Minnesota is not exactly the place to go. Oh, you only have about 9% of the population in there. Let's say compared to Florida, which is 23% in unauthorized immigrants, and out of those, even the upper end in the estimates are only about 1,300 of them having a criminal background. Yet they claim that they've arrested so far 10,000 murderers, rapists, and pedophiles of undocumented immigrants in Minnesota. Yeah, where's those 10,000 coming from? If there's an estimate, if even the upper end estimate is only a little over 1,000.
Right. It's not adding up. And what you were talking about earlier, 47 days rather than 5 months, you're talking about the training of those agents.
Yeah, they're not trained.
They're not getting a full 5 months of training, but rather 47 days. So it's condensed.
They're not even doing some background check properly. They're letting these people through before they even get the background check done.
Yes.
So, Linda James, you put your finger on what Mage is highlighting here. They're not putting the most capable people into authority. They're putting the most compliant ones there.
It seems that way, yet, okay, there was a gal that went to join ICE. She ended up being hired before she was ever properly vetted. So there's an example of who might be getting hired. But there's also what we've been informed of is the person that took out Renee Good and this person today, this gentleman today, are people that have been in this agency for a good 10 years or so. Like they have experience. The one that took out Renee Good is an instructor on shooting guns and stuff. So these two are very seasoned. They're not just their latest hires, and of course they're giving incentives to come join ICE as well. I forget what it is, thousands of dollars as a bonus, but you have to read the fine print because people think they're going to get it for joining. They have to be committed to the full 5 years until they have to go through the whole 5 years before they get that. And I'm wondering if they're psychologically able to, because I think that people have shown up and thought, hell yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm quite the veteran or quite the a patriotic person and stuff. And then when they find themselves in it, it turns out to be way different than they thought it was going to be. And some of them might have found out they don't have the stomach for it to continue in this area. So who knows how that's going?
Linda James, do we need any disclaimers for the show?
Probably.
Yes.
So we don't really know what's going on. And like Mage brings to the table, he brings the healthy skepticism. And that's what we encourage, because we need the critical thinking. Are we able to identify the clear picture as to what's going on? So we take the thesis with antithesis for synthesis, and we say, well, we could be wrong. It's just a matter of us observing and trying to process this, right?
Exactly. These are our opinions. We could definitely be wrong. We could be definitely seeing it other than how it is. But because of my history of techniques and tactics that I've become familiar with, this sure does look familiar. It sure does look like it walked like a duck and it's talking like a duck, and I'm thinking it's a duck. Okay. Even though it jumps up and tells me, oh hell no, I'm a chicken and this is what really happened. No, I know it's a duck, so this administration under Trump is telling us very differently what the situation is, and it's very different than what our eyes have seen.
You
So
know, I've always wondered just how my steel would be tested against cult tactics and trying to indoctrinate me, and I'm wondering if I'm getting a taste of that now.
we all are, if we're paying attention to our government, we all are being given a taste of it. That's why I keep bringing it up. And I've had people tell me they can't watch this channel anymore because they don't want to be paying attention to this politics stuff, and it's too much for them, and I don't blame them. But if it wasn't so much the techniques and tactics that cults use, that abusive partners use, that perpetrators use, I wouldn't be talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, I do pretty good job of keeping my emotions in check. Like I have to. I obviously mask a lot, but I was yelling out loud earlier today, just out of frustration.
Good for you. Good for you. Because it
Were you
has to
able
be
to keep
dispersed.
control there, Mage, or were you traumatized?
I'd say I was traumatized. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has been a rough day, and just everything going on. Like I said, I made myself watch every video I could find of it, from every angle I could find. You know,
I made a whole playlist and haven't looked at it yet.
I felt like that needed to be done.
Yes.
It was
Thank
hard,
you.
but it needed to be done.
I appreciate you showing up saying that you have watched it, because I've said I haven't seen it yet. And from what I understand, I'm bringing up from what I understand, you know? So I appreciate that.
Yeah,
What you bring to the table is
you
what
will see
you've
a
seen.
man gunned down, murdered on film.
That's devastating. That should not be happening here.
No, you'll see him beat, gunned, and then gunned down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Linda James, I want to ask Mage a question here. Is if I may?
Sure.
Mage, I don't want this to be a useless platitude, but is there something we can do to improve your day somehow?
Well, let's see. Not really, but I suppose later on you can help me out with a little bit with some ideas I had for my story. That might actually fit in with your channel little theme.
Yeah. You've been there,
Okay.
huh? Yeah.
So Linda James, I don't know if this is going to help Mage, but I was talking about Kukurahundi, which happened in Zimbabwe when it transitioned from becoming Rhodesia. So I can talk a little bit about that if you allow me. I don't know if you've got space for that.
Yes. Does it have anything to do with apartheid?
In a way, but it's
Okay.
power shifts. So yeah, there is an apartheid aspect to it, which is why that happened. You had key player Robert Mugabe there, who was going, well, very similar to Mandela. We can't just let this keep happening. This is abuses of people. But I want to take African people and go, well, what's the difference here with what's happening in the United States there? All right, how is this happening? So it's about not necessarily taking sides, but seeing a pattern correctly and trying to name it without flinching too much. I'm already flinching with this thing, but it's just coming to Zimbabwe. It's now so distant. In a way, you can look at that historically, and you can see how it's been discussed and admissions, and it's been analyzed. And in a way, it now takes you out of the trauma of what's happening immediately there, and it's going, okay, well, we can take a look at the patterns in a safer way, because it isn't just a tragic historical episode. It's a template out of many that repeats whenever you get an authority that becomes unchecked.
Yes.
And so I've been hearing, oh, well, you've got this, what's it, 47-day training. This is what I was hearing. It sounds like it's fast track stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so what's the grounding point? So here's the grounding point. I'm gonna try and attempt to make it a bit better for you, Mage, and you just chirp up and say, no, that's not working. But I wanted to say unchecked authority, it always dehumanizes. Not because it's evil, not always because it's evil, but because once power is established and you don't have accountability, people stop being people and start being, oh, this is an asset, or oh, this is a threat, this group is useful, or this group is non-compliant. And in Zimbabwe, your fighters who were once heroes, they became liabilities in peacetime. Okay. And so in a high control religion or government, you're spiritually capable, or your most capable, your ethical or insightful people become liabilities once the system I was going to say destabilizes. It's actually the opposite. When it stabilizes, it's the same mechanism. It's just different costumes. You've got people, yeah, and you can be sure that in that situation, that isn't all ice. You've got some bad players coming in. There's a mix going on. You don't know where corruption is coming in. You don't know who's capitalizing on it. But violence doesn't just start with guns. It starts with category collapse. So before you get physical slaughters or you get these abuses, there's this moral flattening that happens. And you get this collective labeling, and the justification language you hear, and this is where I'm going to put the warning. This is for security. This is for unity. This is to keep people's jobs, or this is to keep purity, or Jehovah's standards, or this is the revolution.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So once a group is reframed as dangerous by nature, harm feels necessary. And that's how innocents like our young lady who's got autism suffers alongside genuinely dangerous elements. So the system no longer distinguishes, and it can't afford to. So how important are these conversations? Can you say, oh, well, we're just feeding our own trauma loops by coming together and saying, oh, we're a healing channel, Linda James, but actually we're perpetuating our own trauma? I don't believe that.
Thank you. That's not my intent. I'm just I was questioning myself, thinking, am I, contributing? Are we? That's a good question. Okay. I don't want to do that, but I also want to speak about the reality that is happening in these United States. And it's there's other countries as well that have gotten to a place of very authoritarian. I used to have a roommate who would call the Jehovah's Witnesses Jehovah's regime. Okay. And so the United States is turning into a totalitarian regime, and we need to keep talking about this, because otherwise we're going to be that frog, that story about how a frog, if a frog is put in water, it'll heat up and they don't notice how hot it's getting, because these things will become normalized. And I don't want them to become normalized. We were in a culture where this was normalized. This was how it was. We were coerced to accept it because we were told this is God's arrangement, Jehovah's arrangement. So us thinking this is immoral, this is wrong, we had to shove that down and accept, this higher authority's teachings, even when it felt very wrong to us. And by the way, back to the prison experiment, it was going to last about 2 weeks. It only lasted maybe six days. Yeah. The professor's girlfriend came in and went, oh, hell no, this needs to be shut down right now because of what was going on and how it had gone awry. So it didn't get to go as far as it could have gone, which would have been so much worse. And again, it's an abuse of power, abuse of authority. So yes, so that's what I'm seeing going on within the United States of America. I know there are people that believe that what is happening is just, and um, that's, you know, they think of it differently than I do, and that's how they think of it, you know. But I see it the way I see it, and it's very concerning. So when you see this stuff happening, and it's affecting your conscience, it's affecting your ways of your standards, it's okay to notice it and take note of it. It's okay to be enraged, but not like let that overwhelm you to where we can't function in life, you know. When I was talking earlier about how proud I am about the people that are coming out and giving these agents a hard time by not touching them, but being protesters. I'm proud of them for doing that, because they're still remaining, they're still following the law, but they're going like right up to the edge of that envelope, and it's getting on the nerves of these agents. Sometimes they just pack up and leave. Okay. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but back in the day of like Los Angeles, California, or even other places, there was something called Operation Wetback. Okay. And these whistles that you're seeing everybody have, they used to blow whistles back then to let the neighbors know that La Migra was here. So that's why they're blowing the whistles, to let people in the neighborhood know that ICE is there, or border agents are there. And so it's warning them. It's amazing to me how many people are out here not okay with how these undocumented people are being treated, and known citizens as well. Like I was shocked to find out from a testimony of somebody a week ago that they actually have a section in these places where they detain people that says it's for American citizens. They have a section there in these places for them that's sectioned away from the main crowd of people. So
Jeez.
if you think they're not going to be picking up citizens, if they have a section for them in the location she was at, they might have a section for them in other locations where they take people. So I'm kind of wanting to wind down a little bit on this subject, but I'm wanting to also hear what you have to say, Matthew, about what you were talking about. But before that, I wanted to check in with Grey Wolf and see if you wanted to add anything on to what I just said.
Nope.
Okay, dokie.
Oh, just one little not really have anything to do with what you said, but the one thing, it's people are autistic, not have autism.
Thank you. They are autistic. They don't have autism.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'm going to screw that up a few more times.
Yeah, I know, it's easy to screw up. Something
Yeah.
to try and work on.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for telling me that.
My autistic brain couldn't handle that and made the autistic mistake. Yeah.
That's hilarious. And even someone who doesn't have a mind like that gal or mine, I am autistic as well. Having 3 or 4 different commands that are contradicting each other, all shouted to you at once,
That's going to cause you to freeze up.
Yes.
Yeah, or shout. Well, you're going to start performing, and guess what? You get a rubber bullet.
Yes. So
or worse.
Could that be strategic? Is that a form of escalating? You know?
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm just questioning that.
I imagine even a neurotypical person might have an issue dealing with that.
I would expect that is what I'm saying. Yes. And if you wanted to go ahead with what you were sharing, if I interrupted that, I don't know if I did,
No,
Matthew.
it's all fine, but because I think we empathize with being gaslit. Who hasn't been gaslit among ourselves?
Right?
Who hasn't been told, oh well, this is your fault, or the fact that your body language is now showing distress. This is your fault. You've always been a problem. You were like this as a child. I mean, even as I'm talking like this, you're sort of going, geez, Matt, come on.
No, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you framed it earlier, and Mage for as well, because those are the wise questions. I saw Jay Mars also responding to that in the comments. But the really wise question to ask that you'd highlighted was, oh, is the group moving from exposure towards integration? Yes. It's not just venting here. It's not just saying, oh, well, we're stuck in injury, had a bad day, it was a bad bloody week, it was a bad bloody life. The short answer, if I may, is, yeah, we're actually grounding. So, yeah, recovery groups, they can re-traumatize. Yeah, we know this. This is why we stopped, or why you stopped and said, oh, I'm glad we're talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
It re-traumatizes if it only reactivates pain. But here's the plus side is awareness and discussion are not inherently traumatizing. You know, the healing happens when you get meaning, you get agency, you get regulation. You don't fall for being a sucker. You're saying, no, I'm unpacking this, and I'm able to do it gently with persons that I'm able to relate to. Because, what is re-traumatizing? Re-traumatizing is repeated graphic telling without containment. We've got containment. Let's just make that clear. There is a focus on the perpetrators with no agency shift. We've already said we're prepared to be wrong if we're interpreting this incorrectly. Mm-hmm. And if you've got emotional flooding with no grounding, I don't see that happening. And also, what about this thing with identity becoming the abused one only? No, I don't see that occur. It might steer towards these things, but I actually see it steering towards another direction here. That's why I support it. Personally, I support it. So, yeah, when you've got urgency and outrage without resolution, that's a problem. I see resolution, and that's what's keeping the nervous system in threat mode when it's not there. Because a healing discussion, the way I see it, and I'm open to correction here, is when you name patterns without revealing events in detail. We're not going into these graphic things. We're actually saying, oh, hang on, we're on YouTube. There is a safety net. We've got to actually be careful of what we say. Why? Because you can get a strike because of some automated system coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And also, here's another thing that happens in healing. From what I've observed, is you connect the experiences to frameworks. You say, oh, this wasn't personal, it was systemic, right?
Yes.
Mades is coming in from his experience, from what he's read. We're coming in from surviving spiritual abuse, and it's restoring choice. And we can say, like you said earlier, you said, oh, I've got to stop. I can pause, I can leave, and I can regulate. I can say, guys, I'm off. I'm turning off my video. That's it.
And if I need to, I will. Yeah. If I need to, I will.
And then you've got the humor aspect. So humor, insight, compassion. That's a big dynamic that makes a difference. Cool. I see Sheila's chirping up. She says the traumas that some are suffering comes over so clearly in these chats. We see and feel it. We love you. We support you. See, now that's a healing.
Yes. Very.
Healing. Yeah.
And very nurturing too.
So, Paige, I don't know if that uplifts your situation at all. I don't know if that helps even slightly.
Don't know, but something to keep in mind, though, to help maybe uplift some other of you out there. Or, as I've said before, most of these regimes, sort of these pulls for power, usually only last about 5 years from what I was able to look at from history. Some of the longer ones only last about 20 years. In most of the cases, you're looking at maybe 5 to 20 years, and usually when the big guy goes down, that's the end of it. And I don't see Trump lasting 20 years.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's more than Trump, but
It's
I
more
agree
than
with
Trump.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this power grab they have is not going to last.
right. I agree.
There's
Well,
too
I
many
want to
people
ask
against
quick-
it.
Yeah. Sorry, Maj. Beg your pardon.
I wanted to bring up that just as we get triggered from talking about traumatic incidences, there's also a good side of being triggered. And that is when you smell a certain smell or you experience a certain state of the air and smell of the season. That's also a trigger that takes you back to maybe some good memories of
Right.
times that you had a good time. So it does the same thing with good memories and bad memories. So pay attention to that too. That if you hear a certain song, it takes you back, to a certain year, to certain events that were, that you might be fond of. These are also considered triggers as well. So they can be negative or positive.
And smells can be one of the most powerful ones too.
Oh my God, yes, right? So true.
Sure. So is that integration? That is, isn't it? Okay. So it's the nervous system moving towards integration, and that's the difference. Is not talking versus not, or talking versus not talking. So activation without regulation versus what? Activation with meaning and safety, and that's why the awareness actually helps. You talk about a smell. So trauma thrives in confusion and self-blame. I'm going towards this young woman who's got autism. I look at that and I go, oh, is that me or is that somebody I love? And yeah, I don't know. That could be a distant family member. It could even be close to home. Somebody tells me, oh, this is closer than you thought, Matt. You heard about this on Linda James's channel. Do you know that this was so-and-so? Do you know that this is part of your family? So I think what the group is doing is positive because, when it comes to externalizing blame, this was a control system. It's not a personal failure. And restoring reality testing. Oh, others experienced this too. I wasn't imagining it. I'm now with a group where I can reclaim moral clarity. My reactions, they make sense in context and it breaks the isolation. Mage Grey Wolf. Okay, well, you had a lousy day. Matt, was it so different? No. Isolation is one of the most damaging parts of these high control, abusive religions or governments. This isn't rumination, it's sense making. And you talk about a smell, it's sense making. I can smell it. And that is essential for healing because I'm getting all my senses working. I'm now in touch with,
Exactly.
my nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll take you there. John Mars is talking about Trump is preparing to strike Iran again. Trump is all over the place and pissing off all kinds of countries. Guess what? That is isolating the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's doing. And that is one of the things that an abusive partner will make sure that their partner is isolated from their family and friends.
Yes,
so that you don't get. Go ahead.
But it's working against him because a lot of the U.S.'s power is how we're integrated with these other countries.
He wants the U.S., I believe, wants it to crash to rebuild it. That's what I believe. And if and when that happens, that also gives us an opportunity for democracy to rise as well. So think ahead of how you want things to be here in the United States. Think ahead of how the human rights that we're watching being trampled all over will be of value again.
Yeah, I've heard the thing that they're going for is something along the lines of the technate of America. I don't know if you've ever heard about that. but it fits. It's an old idea of basically these corporations and wealthy people who are running in the country and basically the entire continent. If you ever look at a map of the segment of America and where Trump has been targeting, it pretty lines up pretty well. They have Greenland, they have Venezuela, they have Mexico, they have Canada. These are all places that you're talking about going in and taking over.
Yeah, the entitlement is just amazing to me. The entitlement of I want it, I need it, therefore I should have it. It's ridiculous, you know.
Like I said, if him trying to isolate America is working against him. That's
Welcome,
going to work
Purple.
against him.
Hello.
Purple.
Can you hear
Good
me?
to see you.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
I
you.
can. Good to
Okay.
see you.
What's
What's on your mind?
not much. I've been listening to you, but I've got my nephew here for the night, so was just
Okay.
helping him get settled in first.
Oh, I see. That makes sense. How old is your nephew?
He's 14,
14. Okay.
so he's pretty well self-sufficient, but doesn't know where I keep everything in this house.
Oh, okay. Do you have on headphones or does he hear us?
I've got my headphones on, but I had you on speakers up till now.
Okay, cool. I just
so-
wanted to know. I just wanted to know.
Well, there's some nightmares for him.
Yeah, glad you could join us, Purple.
That's all right. He knows all about us.
Linda James, how close are
Yeah.
we to?
Well, you've been talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Purple, I've derailed you. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
It's okay. Well, you've been talking about ice, and I'm in St. Cloud. We're about an hour out of Minneapolis, but they've been pumping hundreds of ICE agents into the
Yeah.
city here.
Please do stay safe.
What
Well-
is it, like 3,000? Is that what you've been hearing?
I've been hearing thousands, but I don't know if they're really that many. But
Right.
at least a few hundred. But
Okay.
there is some slight humor value. We're noticing that a lot of the license plates are from Georgia.
How are they?
So I think we've got several hundred people who have never experienced winter.
Ah, that's
And it's
possible.
quite obvious that they have no clue how to drive in the snow.
Oh, is it?
First
Okay.
snowstorm we had, 3 of them got stuck in the snow, and one of them slid off the road and hit a pole.
Wow. See, that would be me if I was over
Well,
there by you.
And just because of Minnesota nice, even though we hate them, if somebody's stuck in the snow, you go over and help push them out, regardless of who it is.
Right? Yeah. It's
Leave 'em.
interesting. It's interesting.
Well, they don't
That,
get out of their vehicles much because they can't handle below 0 temperatures, which have been our
Right.
highs this week.
That's true. Like y'all are diehards, getting up and getting out and with your whistles and everything.
Yeah,
It's
well,
been
I mean,
amazing. Yeah.
For us, this is normal weather for January. That we're used to
Mhm.
having a week that the temperature never gets above 0. That's just
Wow.
a typical winter.
Okay. You may
And
be
that's
right.
what we're experiencing
might-
right now.
That may be the case. Yeah.
Of course, some people, in addition to the protest, are doing some other things. Nothing illegal, but sometimes playing music very loudly in front of the hotels that they are staying in.
Yes, I've heard of this and beating on drums and stuff. And
Yeah.
yes, being
And,
very
At least 3 hotels in the city have said that they will not rent rooms to ICE agents anymore because they are disruptive to their other customers.
Yes, and some of them actually were closed down completely just to keep the ICE agents from being allowed to get rooms.
close down the whole.
Yeah, they closed. If we have to take you in, no, we'll just close. We won't take anyone in.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just put
Okay.
up the closed for the season sign.
Okay. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Okay. That's amazing.
Well,
Wow.
and now they're having the issue in Minneapolis that they have found that ICE has been targeting the Minneapolis police officers when they're off duty.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that they're hassling police officers. I did not know it
Yeah.
was off duty.
Well,
Oh my God.
that's how they catch them. Is they stop them for something when they're off duty. They're out of uniform. They're not in their cars, and then they're usually not carrying a weapon.
True. Here in
But they're also doing the racial profiling on that, as they're
Yes.
primarily harassing black officers.
okay. Yeah, that's horrific. ICE can call upon the police department to help them with crowd control. The police can show up. They don't assist ICE in whatever activities
Right.
they're doing, but they are there to support ICE through crowd control. And
Right.
but they're also, how can I say this? I think that this is going to be a big thing that's going to show that the police are actually more for the people than the people have ever recognized. Okay.
Yeah, which
If
You
that
know,
makes sense. Maybe it doesn't, but I'm hearing things that are like they're just outraged on how these agents are
it's
treating their
kind of
community.
the friend of or the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Hmm.
Because nothing really changed since the George Floyd thing. So people here still aren't real fond of the police,
Right.
but it seems that police hate the ICE officers' abuse of power more than they're going
Yes.
to bother to harass the average citizen.
Exactly. And there's a new Black Panther movement. New Black Panther movement. Please do your research on them. Okay?
Yeah.
They are not the original Black Panthers. Okay? Please do your research on the new Black Panther movement. It's important, okay?
Well,
I'm just beginning to look into it.
it was kind of inevitable with how far some of the white nationalists have pushed things that you're going to get an equally explosive
Mhm.
group on the opposite end.
Yes. Yes. So this kind of stuff is things that we're trying to heal from our experiences. So we have to tune back into what we have control over.
Yeah,
You're st-
I've had to cut down on how much I watch the news just because, I can't live in a state of constant anxiety.
Yes.
I already
Yes.
do, so might as well.
I'm sorry to hear that. Is it your environment, or do you have like a high anxiety disorder of some sort?
I have an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
Anxiety disorders really suck. I'm just letting you know right here and now.
Well, I have an
They are
anxiety
terrible.
disorder too. And actually,
Me
what I
too.
mean as far as not living under constant anxiety is more like trying to keep the anxiety level below a 5 instead of living at a 9 all the time.
Yeah, I'm
Exactly.
legally disabled for it.
Uh-huh. And being that anxious is so distracting. It's hard to do,
Yeah.
say, you go out and get a job, okay?
Hmm.
I'm really glad to hear that the creative side of you is something you're you're advancing with. You know, you're being a gift that you have. When I hear you talk about your writings, it really makes me happy because it's a strength of yours and you enjoy doing it. So when
Yeah.
you came on today and said that you might have lost some of it, I was like, oh
Yes.
no. But at the same time,
Something, Mage?
Yeah, I had a glitch on my computer and it wiped most of the chapter 6 I was writing.
Oh,
I had only had a little bit of backed up, and I found a little bit more, but I'm still missing one of the strongest beats in that chapter, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to rewrite that. And it's like, oh, it's like days of work gone.
I
Somebody-
had that happen like 2 years before I moved here from Michigan. I had a hard drive crash. So I lost everything I'd written for like 6 months
Oh,
because, like everybody else, I don't do regular backups.
okay.
but anyway, this might be a good segue for this talking about. So, one of my main characters is Lika. Her big goal. She is just gung ho, very jump head first into everything, without looking. And the big thing she wants to do is become a hunter in her tribe, in this clan that she's in.
Mhm.
But her father is a very conservative type, and he's like, no, you should not be. You shouldn't be a hunter. You should do something that was a woman's job. Now, interesting enough, I just recently was reading more on the characters the whole thing is kind of very Native American coded. Not necessarily. I mean, I'm drawing from other sources besides them, like Tibetan culture, Bhutan, I think. But yeah, at any rate, I found out that building homes and maintaining them is actually generally more of a woman's job in these Native American many American cultures. And I happen to have had Kaon, that's her father's name, as a builder.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at it, he can actually be rather hypocritical here.
Well, it depends, what kind of structure they live in. For a lot of the Native Americans, building the home was the woman's job because it was primarily concerned with stitching hides together.
Yeah, they're in sort of like a wigwam kind of structure, where you put wooden and sticks around, and you cover it with bark panels, hides, and grass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it might very well be the men's job, to handle the support poles and such, but then still the woman's job to, put the covering on it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was also thinking about for later in the story of how he justifies the actions of this tyrannical chieftain that I have in the story. He's my main antagonist in my first book. I've decided to split this up into a trilogy of books.
That sounds so cool.
And I've just kind of been going over the mindset he'd be in to justify the actions. So to explain this, this chieftain is utilizing a very old law that's intended actually for a clan that's about to die. So let's say most of these villages and clans are only maybe a few dozen people. Well, this one, the one I'm focusing on, is like a few hundred people. But if a sickness or something goes through that small village, and you're looking at maybe a handful of people left over. So there's this rule that they have in place that the chieftain can have kids with whatever childbearing woman he wants in that kind of situation, just to bring up the numbers. That's what the rules.
Wow.
That's what the law is supposed to be for. But he's
Cult
using it
leaders do that too
but,
sometimes.
Yeah, but he's using it for his own personal pleasure, and he's kidnapping women off the off the street basically, and bringing them to his den and doing whatever he wants to them. And some of them aren't coming back. some of them do come back. They're broken. They are catatonic. They're not speaking to anyone. They want to even be touched. So you can get an idea of what he's doing. And so Chaos and Lika ends up being a target of this later in the story. So he's like,
Please tell me Lika ends up kicking ass. Tell me she handles the situation. Okay.
She don't worry, it turns out good though.
Thank you.
But the first encounter is he's like, come to my den, but her friend kind of interrupts this whole thing, and she gets out of there. And I was thinking for a scene of her talking to her father about this interaction, because it's kind of an open secret of what this chieftain is doing to everybody, and he's just trying to justify it in his head, like oh well, we don't know all the details. Maybe there's a good reason why he's doing this. And he's trying to justify it, even though he's now personally being affected.
Wow.
So I was thinking,
it's harder to justify when it becomes your own family.
Yeah, but he's like maybe you misheard him. Maybe you misunderstood. But he's trying to come up with justifications for the situation. Now, I was just thinking when I was going over that talking to you with your background of being in the cult and everything, it might actually help me work out some details for this.
Okay. There's someone in the chat talking about Kevin McFree, who is a YouTube creator, ex-Jehovah's Witness, possibly still a Jehovah's Witness, a YouTube creator, and did like stop motion with Lego characters. His stuff is amazing, okay? Amazing.
What's the name of this channel?
I think it's called Kevin McFree, but the town that he talks about is Dubtown.
Here we go. Here's the interaction I had. It's kind of a rough draft of the interaction between Lika and her father. So Lika comes to her father's. He wanted to take me to his den, and her father's. Must have misunderstood. You know what happened? He does this to the girls who go. It's the law. He's allowed. We don't know the reason he's invoking it, but it must be for a good reason and for the clan. You've seen how the girls come back. They're broken. They have to stay quiet for a reason. What reason? It's not for us to question.
Oh, hell no. Okay. Wow.
Linda James, I put Kevin McFree's YouTube link in the... Yeah, and he did Dubtown. You're quite right. The Lego animation, hey? He called it Dubtown, JW Town, or Dubtown, hey?
Dubtown, JW Town, Dubtown. Okay, Lego animation.
Yes. So the Watchtower went after this person for quite a while, almost 3 years, and then they just dropped it, and they haven't been after him since, which is quite not how things usually end, but that was the case with this person.
Yeah, I believe they got quite petty. They found some image and claimed that it was copyright. But I mean, they do this trick even if you hold a 2013 revised edition Bible. They did that with me. And I went, this is incredible. So just by using the Bible, which I've obtained through the hall, or holding the literature, which you say we've got to be governed by, but when you're not governed by it and I use it, that's now an infringement of copyright. I said, no, that's bullying. That's just institutional bullying. But
wow.
They do this deliberately, and they go, well, if we've made a mistake and we've crossed the line, we're open to being corrected by the law, knowing full well.
By the law? Okay.
Yeah, they know full well that it's like it's just bullying. That's all. But
yes,
he got a taste of that, Kevin McFree, and we all see the injustice and the fact that it happened in the past 3 to 4 years, and that we don't really see too much action from him, that's lousy, terrible.
Oh,
Yeah,
so he's been quiet for over 3 years?
yeah.
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 He's been silenced.
So we can assume it's a he, and that Kevin McFree. We can assume he was spooked, understandably so,
Yeah.
and wisely stepped back. You know, I can't.
Yeah, that they were
blame him.
putting some pressure on him.
Yeah,
But Kevin McFree as a channel is still going. It's still
Yes,
there.
it is.
It might have older posts, but it's still up.
and they have playlists. So when you put on a playlist, you get all kinds of time with just one video after another video after another video. And what's really amazing and fun to listen to is people that take positions of authority within the congregation.
Yep.
He does like these certain Legos that have these places of authority, and he uses the loaded language that they use in these
Yeah.
strange places.
Well, I
That really does apply, but it's super sarcastic and it's just hilarious.
I
Yeah.
just brought up the channel. I'll have to explore it later, but
Definitely.
yeah, that's one I definitely have not seen.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out myself.
I have run across a couple other channels that have done just Bible stories and stop motion Lego,
I have seen those too, yes.
and
Yeah.
one of them had done. Yeah, one of them had done like a series of dioramas of Bible stories, and they would not let him display it at one of the conventions
At what
because
conventions?
they said it. One of the Lego conventions,
Oh, okay.
because they said it was not suitable for children to view,
Okay.
and we're guessing that
was
the
it
reason
the
for that
fig leaf?
was no, we're guessing it was because of the David and Goliath scene where David was holding Goliath's severed head with blood still dripping out of it. We're thinking that's
Yes.
the one that went too far.
The stories nightmares are made of. Yes.
Yeah,
Just open the
nobody
Bible.
knows for sure. We're speculating on that because he hasn't officially said anything, or the convention didn't officially say exactly what it was. They
That's
just
funny.
decided it was not family friendly when all he
Yeah.
was doing was Bible stories.
Dehydrated Nurse says, yep, copyrights. He won. Okay. I didn't know he won. I think, yeah, maybe he did win. So I remember someplace in a live chat, he showed up, and this was maybe 4 years ago or something. And I got to chat with him. And let me just say, I was like totally fanning, like I was a total little fan, acting like a like, oh my God, stupid like this, right? But basically, I just told him I appreciate his work, That's, when you find somebody that their work has brought you so much joy and helped in your healing, which I believe his channel does, because we can laugh at the ridiculousness of the doctrines and the teachings, and we used to live it. And it used to be so, oh my God, it used to be so confining and so oppressive and stuff. So when he has this little Legos playing out a story of one of the teachings, it's so relaxing to belly gut laugh about it as you're healing. Sometimes if somebody's healing and they hear something like that, they'll find it very offensive and they're not ready to hear something like that yet.
Mhm.
And that's fine. They might come back to it later and might be able to find joy. And that was us, that was me. My favorite one that they've done is about the tea, which is based on a very true story in Canada, where there were some Jehovah's Witnesses that drank some medicinal tea, okay? And they ended up hallucinating and becoming very paranoid and thought that Armageddon was going to happen.
I remember
So they
that.
kidnapped the neighbor and their newborn
Oh.
baby. Yes.
Yeah.
Truly thinking they're rescuing them from Armageddon going to happen. They're in their car. Oh, but back up. They got naked. They got naked. I think before they got in the car.
Oh,
Why?
boy.
I don't kind of remember why, but they did some dancing and could have been on the roof or in the basement and
You
had
had
more
told
tea.
me about this before,
It's so
and then the
amazing.
next day I had looked it up, and I actually, found a news report on it with some video
Yes.
footage of after they had crashed the car.
I don't talk down those witnesses. I mean, they were obviously a victim of a horrible event that was a total accident on their part. That's not their lifestyle. That's not what they did on a regular basis. They were not tea drinking, hallucinating JWs at all.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
this part of the show, Linda James, Twilight Zone, you have now stepped over into that section.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's
But I mean, it is
one
a
of the
very
problems
human
with,
story,
you know,
that, isn't
a
it?
lot of those hallucinogenic drugs is that they can promote paranoia.
Yeah. And it seems like they accidentally drank too much. Like I've heard
Yeah.
of stories where there's micro doses of certain things that can be really helpful in certain people for certain reasons. But I have a feeling whatever this was for, they drank too much of it. Like,
Dude, I can taste the sound of the colors.
oh,
Yeah,
you're one of
there you go.
those. You're one
What's
of those. Okay.
synesthesia? Yeah.
So it got weird.
Yeah.
So they took off down the road because they're thinking Armageddon is happening or going to happen or whatever. And then they get pulled over by the police and they were like naked. Not all of them, not the neighbor, I don't think, but some of them were naked. Why? I kind of think it was because they got too hot. Or, it was like a logical reason in the story, but it isn't. They're normal. They don't. These JWs don't get naked and get in the car, and that's not their norm. It was under the influence of this tea. It was a really bad day for them, I'm sure. So I do not begrudge them. They were a victim of something really, really awful. But
Well,
when he
it's
made
a
a
hell of
video
a-
out of it, it was hilarious.
That's a hell of a story to tell from the perspective of the person who was kidnapped. I mean, yeah, one day I was kidnapped by this couple. They got naked, drove all this way, then crashed their car.
Did they crash the car? I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe they said.
Okay.
You'd say
Yeah, the car went off the road because,
Okay.
of course, they couldn't control themselves well enough to drive reasonably.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So yeah, that when the police started chasing them, the car went off the road into the ditch.
What a nightmare when the police started chasing them. Ah, if a story could just start off like that. When the police started chasing them.
then the police started.
Speaking
Well,
of
it's like
stories,
one of those movies that starts out with the most dramatic scene, and then you've got the voiceover saying, "I bet you're wondering how we got here."
Yeah.
Speaking of storytelling, Jonathan from JW Awake has a channel that is him doing storytelling with some AI art, and his voice is amazing as he tells the story. He does different voices and really takes you there. He's very talented that way. JW Awake. I need to look up his channel. I'll have that for you in a minute. And the storytelling channel is amazing.
I see that 68 Ecomouse has put the classic red mushroom, but the red mushroom, as far as I know, and I'm open to correction, the red cap with white dots, that isn't the one that produces psilocybin. It's got a different effect. I think
I don't know.
the red
the red cap with the white dots is the one that they put in Minecraft, so that's the one everybody thinks of now.
And Mario, Super
Yeah.
Mario Brothers.
There we go. Yeah. So that's the Amanita muscaria,
Mhm.
which is very different to the one that
Yep.
has got psilocybin, hey? Which is, I suppose, the grey one or the greyish white one.
I'm trying to remember if that was the one that the deer's eaten and they you drink the deer piss just to get high off of it, or
Oh,
Ah.
crumbs.
I don't know. I always wondered exactly how that unfolded. I mean, it's like, yeah, I dare you to drink this deer pee. I'm how did the people work out? Okay, the deer eats the mushroom. We drink the deer pee. We get high. Doesn't seem like something I'd be willing to try myself, but
Yeah, I I don't see how they got to drinking the deer pee instead of just, hey, the reindeer are acting funny when they eat that mushroom. Let me try a piece of that mushroom.
well,
You know,
they
that
probably
part
probably
I kind of understand, but
yeah they probably tried that at first and they killed them.
So I just put the link in there in the chat for Tale Tellers.
Oh,
Channel.
right.
So
or
get it-
else they're like thinking that, yeah, why don't we drink the reindeer pee? I mean, I hear that in South America there's people who make coffee out of cat shit.
Okay.
Yeah, you really got to question how people come up with eating some of these things.
So we've
I'm
got the cooking channel now.
Yeah, I'm still
okay.
I'm still under the impression that most of this came about as a dare.
Yeah, I can't imagine how somebody got the idea to actually use the coffee beans after they have come out of the cat. I
Oh.
don't get where somebody came up with that idea.
Holy crap. And Linda James is taking a sip.
But my coffee is the
Enjoy.
cheap kind. Definitely not as gourmet as
You
Cat
got the
shit
black
time.
cup, I got the white one.
yep. Coffee's a good thing. And I'm one of those people that will drink it morning, noon, and night.
Okay.
Love,
I
love,
drink
love
tea all
coffee.
the time. I've never developed a taste for coffee, but I have found out later in life that my dad made the most god awful coffee.
Ah,
So that probably has something to do with why I was put off of it.
that could be.
Took me a while to get a taste for it, but I started drinking it because I was having a lot of issues with fatigue from the rheumatoid arthritis, and I just needed something to get me going in the morning when I woke up. Or
Well,
And
my
having
dad
high
had one of
anxiety
those.
all the time can make you exhausted too.
My
Go
dad
ahead.
had one of those old, aluminum coffee
Yes.
percolators.
hmm The kind you put on the stove or plug in.
Plug in.
Okay.
He had an electric one, but sometime in my teenage years, I realized that he didn't dump the grounds out every day. He just added an extra scoop each morning.
That's a possibility. Yes.
Yeah, so that sometimes you were drinking coffee that the grounds had been in there for up to 5 or 6 days.
Okay.
oh,
Yeah,
you're gonna
that
get
should
mold out of that.
That's a little too long. That's
my brother was
mold
an
starts
over-the-road
to grow.
trucker. My brother was
who?
an over-the-road trucker, and he would
Okay.
get his thermos filled up at the truck stop before he came home, because
Okay.
the truck stop coffee was that much better than my dad's.
I'd imagine.
that much better than your dad's. Yeah.
Well, here's a disgusting coffee story. My mom was drinking her coffee, and she noticed it was tasting a little funny for some reason. She went to clean out the coffee machine, and where the water reservoir was filled with baby roaches.
Ah,
So
She had been drinking roach coffee for a week.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad.
yeah, I thought you were going to say there was like a dead mouse in it.
No, dead roaches.
Yeah.
Dead baby
That-
roaches.
Dead baby roach. Yeah, the a roach had apparently climbed in there, laid its egg, and it hatched. And when she did her coffee, it killed them.
Yeah.
I recommend not to do this at home, audience.
No, do not drink roach coffee,
No.
and clean your coffee maker regularly.
I don't know. It would be hard to weigh out between the coffee with roaches in it and the coffee with the cat shit. I'm not sure which one.
Tough
Which one I
choice.
would
Tough
wind up
choice right
choosing.
there.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure dog urine can bleach hair. So hey, that's
Oh,
we
yeah.
haven't got any links. We haven't got any links for our clinicians and legal practitioners and mental health observers for this. Cat urine and psychedelic. Compounds or whatever that we're discussing.
Yeah.
That's all layman and unprofessional yakking about stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to find it on your own, eh?
Yeah.
I have no clue about the psychedelic drugs.
Or the cat urine.
Yeah, I'm just guessing about the cat urine.
Yeah, I take it it's not something that there's easy access to. Eh?
I do have some good news. My oldest daughter, who was a hairdresser and still is, has become an official tattoo artist in Maui.
Ah.
And she's been apprentice. She's been being taught by someone who is already a well-known tattoo artist on the island. So she's been getting educated by him, and
Oh,
she's getting to work in his shop, and I'm excited for her because she's a true artist, and it's a new adventure in her life. She got licensed and doing all that, whatever she needed to do. So that's pretty cool. I said to her,
Save, Linda James.
thank you. I also told her I wanted her to get to really learn the they do tattoo makeup. And most people in Hawaii do not wear makeup because it's so humid. Okay?
Right.
So they have just either whatever color their skin is, you hardly see someone wear makeup in Hawaii. So doing permanent makeup is what it's called, which it's not really permanent, but that would be something that would be, I think, a desire of some of the people in Hawaii, because they'll just kind of put some color on the lips, do some eyeliner on the eyes, and even some for the eyebrows. And that would be something that they would probably repeat every so often, every couple of 4 years or so, because it's not permanent like a regular tattoo. It's less than that.
Yeah, the sisters were doing it here on the peninsula. Tattoo makeup. So like they would put a tattoo on the eye, like an eyeliner, permanent.
Yes.
And they were coming, Matt, is this okay? Are we allowed to do this? Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Well,
that's the kind of a question that a Jehovah's Witness would ask.
yeah.
Because
In other words,
tattoos are forbidden, but permanent makeup is a form of tattooing. So it makes sense that they would ask.
Yeah. See, people don't like the answer, let your conscience be your guide. Make
I
the
do.
decision. No,
Yeah, but
well,
you know what? I do
in
what you're saying.
JW land, in JW land, if an elder now says, no, use your Bible-trained conscience, I'm not going to tell you yes or no. There's a scripture that talks about tattoos or markings. Now you got to decide.
there's actually a scripture that says that God has your name tattooed on the palm of his hand. Like that's how intimate you are to him. And there's certain cultures that like they won't put the name of a person on their body until they've died. And doing it while they're
Yeah.
still alive is not a thing. Like where people in the U.S. will, they'll put their mom's name or their partner's name or their kid's name, somebody
Yeah.
they value that's still alive. So there's all
Yeah.
kinds
Well,
of different traditions.
I would agree with the thing about not doing it with a person who's still alive, because as long as they're still alive, you don't know what they might do.
That's true.
And
Mhm.
just like these people who have their ex's name tattooed on them, or how painful the process is to remove it.
And I've seen
Well-
people who do that and have a person's name put on their face.
Oh, the face
Yeah.
tattoos are a thing now.
Yeah.
I had another person ask me if it was okay. Remember, this is in JW context and in the role of pastoral care as an elder. So in
Right.
JW, if persons don't know or something seems like a gray area or they're uncertain about it, then the idea is you approach an elder and the elder wouldn't impose their conscience upon you. That's the theory. And they would just say, well, there are some scriptures that talk about this kind of thing. Let's look at them and, what's the strongest feeling you get after looking at it? And that's the way it's supposed to happen. In other words, you use the Bible as a guide to help the person answer the question without you imposing your conscience upon them. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Wow.
So there was a sister who had a scar on her leg, and she's saying, "Oh, I want to put a butterfly over this because I feel self-conscious about the scar or the birthmark, and I'd like to cover over this. Is that all right? With these scriptures, I just don't know." And I think those are interesting things to think about.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
There are so many rules and principles and teachings within this organization that are not necessarily doctrine. It all adds up and becomes like a ton of stuff. So many things that it makes sense that someone would come to Matthew and say, would this be okay in this situation? And it blows me away that elders will come up with a few scriptures and hand it back to them when in actuality there's certain watchtowers that will say, would a Christian do this? No. No. Whatever topic is being taught. And so maybe the elders will give them some articles to read too. So I'm not sure. But that's fascinating how you're saying that, Matthew, that you'll hand that back to them for them to use their own Bible-trained conscience.
Yeah. Make your decision, but realize it has consequences.
Yes. Okay. That kind of stuff, for me having autism, drives me up the wall. I'm telling you. That'll just send me over the edge. And I would often have questions like this growing up, and I would never get a direct answer. But I knew that if I got it wrong, it eventually meant I won't make it through Armageddon. Straight up. It's like, that's what it leads to. If you make the wrong move, you won't make it through Armageddon.
Yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
And go figure this, my cousin was the leading tattoo artist on the peninsula.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Very good at what he does. His art is phenomenal.
I have actually thought about getting my eyebrows tattooed in.
That sounds
Because
cool.
when I try to do them myself, I can never get them right. I can't get can't get them symmetrical. I've always
Well,
thought,
they're sisters, not twins.
yeah, yeah, but I just, my hand's not real good at it, and it would just thinking that, yeah, it would be easier just to have them done permanently.
I think so too. And they do now, like especially for microblading,
Yeah,
which they
Well-
literally tattoo hair lines
yeah.
together in shapes
Oh,
of a
right.
number.
Well,
Okay.
that just
Very amazing.
my natural eyebrows, the hair is just so faint that you don't see them at all.
Okay.
If I don't put some kind of coloring on them, you don't
Mhm.
notice them at all.
Okay.
So it would be easier just to get some tattooed on in a darker shade and just shave them off.
Try. Okay.
68
Yeah,
Ecomouse has got a comment there, Linda James.
I see that. Can you read it, please?
Says there is a rumor that the tattoo rule will fall simply because too many new people coming into JW with tattoos.
Yeah,
And you know what? Today's tattoos are very different than, let's say, from my generation. Today's tattoos are body art. My generation, you were either part of the Hells Angels, or you were in a gang, or you were promiscuous. There was never any good reason for tattoos. Today, it's body art. All three of my kids are grown adults with tattoos. Body art. And they love getting their tattoos and they love them. I have none. I have none. Yeah.
well, aside from the eyebrows, the only tattoos I would get are from, to remember someone who's passed.
Yes.
So the only one I have so far is my late fiance's sigil. And just above that, I want to get Sloth Girl Sloth on there.
That would be
But
nice.
I haven't had the money to go back and get Sloth Girls done yet.
Right.
Because they're kind of expensive. That even for a small one, it's going to be over $100.
Yeah. I've considered a couple of tattoos, but I've never really, gotten to the desire where I really want to get it done, and given the price, that's also kind of. Do I really want it that badly?
Right.
On the other hand, if you think of it in terms of lasting value, all the things that you might spend $100 on, and most of them, limited period of time you can use them. Whereas a tattoo is something that literally will be there for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
My cousin also had the laser removal facility too.
That's a big
Just-
deal, actually.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, that's
very
become a
deal.
bigger thing about, people
Mhm.
regretting. Oh, one interesting statistic. The turfs like to throw out about, not putting transgender ideas into our kids. And they try to point out the people who have regretted it and detransitioned. Yeah, the rate of people detransitioning is lower than the rate of regret from people getting Harry Potter tattoos.
Or knee replacements.
Yeah.
Yes, I've looked into this. It's true. It's very minute. There are some out there. That's true, but it's very minute.
Yeah,
They're very
I
small
just like
around.
the Harry Potter comparison because, Rowling has put a considerable amount of her own money toward campaigns to pass anti-trans laws in the UK.
Right? Right? Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see, what you need to do is you need to get me to become a famous millionaire or author, and then I can pull that money. You need to help trans people.
I
Makes
believe
me-
she was a previous Mormon, yes?
I don't know anything about her religious associations.
So we're
But,
talking about the author of Harry Potter books. What is her
Yeah.
name again?
J.K. Rowling.
Yes, okay.
Mage, did somebody clue you in that's why I keep you around?
Oh.
And I'm waiting for you to become rich and famous so I can exploit your wealth.
Ah, okay. I'm waiting for that too.
Oh my goodness, this is hilarious. I was hope when I left the organization, and I had kids. I did not raise them within this organization. And one of the funnest things I got to do was to take my son to a midnight opening of the release of one of the Harry Potter books. I don't know which one, but it was at a local bookstore. He, got the book and all this other stuff. He comes back with this little sandwich baggie with I don't know what in it. It could have been like kosher salt. And I asked him what it was, and it's like some magical, mystical magic dust stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but he had a great time. And this is the kind of stuff that I never would have been able to do growing up in the
I did one of those
organization.
too, with one of my daughters. She was like 12 or 13. That was either when the fourth or the fifth book came out, that we were standing in line at the bookstore in Mall of America.
Oh, wow.
Wait until the stroke of midnight so that they could open up the doors and start selling them.
Yep.
Yeah, despite how rolling is, I still do like the Harry Potter series.
Yeah, my son was very into it. Definitely. I haven't read
it has flaws, but I would have done the last book differently personally. But
yeah, my late fiance, it was one of her favorite series. I would sometimes be reading that to her, for her to fall asleep at night.
Oh my God, that's one of the most endearing things I've ever heard.
Although, that's
not that I've ever heard, but that's one of the most enduring things that I really love is to be read to. When I get read to, I think it's just so nurturing and so.
Yeah.
Like I remember being in the 3rd or 4th grade, and our teacher, it was a male teacher, read to us Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Oh, I love that story.
Right, a little bit every day. And I can remember imagining it, seeing the story as he read it, and he is now a Facebook friend of mine, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I would read to my fiance every night, and her two favorites were the Harry Potter series or the Xanth series.
Okay. I ended up getting Combating Mind Control by Steve Hassan.
Combating Mind Control.
The first one that did not have the Jehovah's Witnesses in it by Steve Hassan. No, Steve Hassan is the way he wants us to say it. So I remember, and it was read to me by someone, and I remember thinking to myself, all of this stuff sounds like what I've been through. Like all of it. Like it kept being, I was like, this is amazing. Then I find out this guy named Randall Waters here in Southern California was talking to Steve and said, why didn't you mention the Jehovah's Witnesses? He's like, oh, is that a cult? So Randall Waters educated Steve Hassan about it. And Randall Waters was very well known within Southern California. This is before Facebook, before internet kind of stuff. There probably was a few chat rooms, but he put out a what is that called when they send you a I forget what it's called. He would put out like this paper kind of thing with like 3 or 4 pages in it, and I would get it in the mail about every quarter.
What, a newsletter?
Thank you, newsletter. That's it. And what was interesting about this, speaking of memories, the font that he used in his newsletter is the exact same font that's used by the Watchtower. Mind you, this guy, Randall Waters, did used to work at Bethel. And in where the printing machines were and stuff. And then lived in like Torrance Redondo Beach area here in Southern California. The first ex-Jehovah's Witness event I went to, it was him teaching on Robert J. Lifton's 8 characteristics or eight tactics of totalism. And I don't remember any of it because I had thought-stopping cliches going on in my head over and over and over again. Because it was a church I was in, but it didn't look like a church. It looked very industrial, just a room. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm in a church, so does this make me... Because what it's called within the organization is spiritual fornication. I believe it should be spiritual adultery, but they call it spiritual fornication. So I'm sitting there thinking, I'm in a church. Does that mean I'm committing spiritual fornication? Does that mean I'm a spiritual slut? So my mind just kept going on and on and on with all these things that I've been indoctrinated in. And at that time, I had very high anxiety. I had not started taking meds yet. I was still in my 20s. And I don't remember at all what he taught on. But that's the time I got to find out about the pyramid that was near Charles Taze Russell's tombstone. Charles Taze Russell was the second founder of the Watchtower. And he had these pictures that, you could actually hold on to. But I remember it was a potluck as well. And I remember looking at the food and wondering if it was poisoned. Like, that's how my head was. That's where my head was. That's how, even though I had left 7 years prior, I still had the mindset that I still had some of that. Like, I had a mindset of if I'm ever going to get back
church
right,
was going to do something horrible to you.
Yeah, that I was taught that there's demons flying around in other churches. So it's, going to that was tough, but I really wanted to go. And even though, there's that. So I had just begun to start questioning, I just had begun to, at that time, was deconstructing the belief system of the Watchtower into the belief systems of mainstream Christianity. So I was replacing Watchtower theology with mainstream Christianity theology. And that's called apologetics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was at the time.
Oh, while you were talking about it, I looked up Stephen Hassan's book, Combating Cult Mind Control. It's on Audible. I put that on my wish list. I also looked up his name. He also has a second book, The Cult of Trump, which I'm also putting on my wish list for Audible here.
That is actually an excellent book, and then, it talks a lot about why it's viewed that way.
Yeah, and The Cult of Trump is narrated by Stephen himself.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I've been getting into audiobooks is really big lately, so
I love audiobooks.
Yeah, I've been really loving it. The time it would take me to get through one book, I've gotten through a dozen.
Yeah, the same. I'm just reading is slow and difficult for me, so it becomes something of a chore.
Yeah, I love reading. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's very slow.
Dr. Deborah Katz did a great interview with Stephen Hassan.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah. And Stephen opened up about his Mooney's experience and his awakening and how he snapped out of it and how he got caught up in it. And yeah, very interesting. So when you're talking about the cult of Trump, because again, it's the patterns, It's recognizing patterns. And,
absolutely.
In our human nature, in our human society.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm looking that up. Deborah Katz and Stephen Hassan.
Katz, and Deborah is Debra.
Thank you. Can you spell Katz for me again?
Yes, Katz.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Oh, wow. That's from 2024, October 1st. Okay.
You got me to look it up now. Yeah.
So I'm going to save it for me to look at later.
Can I put the link in the live chat?
Yes, please.
So let me label it. So that's Stephen Hassan, and Deborah Lynn Katz. Interview. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very cool.
What I like about that is that's 2 PhDs. Deborah Lynn's very experienced. Very experienced.
So, okay, Deborah Lynn Katz interview. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, she's great. Great to deal with, great to work with, and got a tremendous amount of experience. Yeah. So it's nice having somebody who's got that training interview him, you know? So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
yeah.
she was interviewing him. I see. Okay.
Mm.
A friend of mine told me, go ask him to interview him. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of like hesitant to do that. And I want to get over the being hesitant to do that. I don't know how that works. So I'm just going to have to just go try to ask him if I can interview him.
Yeah, that would be great.
I have asked my previous therapist, her name is Rachel Bernstein, who is a cult specialist as well, located in Los Angeles. She's amazing. She has a podcast called Indoctrination, and her work is very, very thorough. And she's like a special ed teacher. So I was like, yep, you're my gal. You are my gal. So I got to see her for a little bit. And over Zoom, which was really nice. But all of her shows, like she'll interview different people that have been in different groups, and she finishes them off with one more thing before you go, and then she goes into how she wants to finish things off that has something to do with the show. And it's always really good.
Does she do this play on words, indoctrination?
Possibly.
Yeah, okay. Rachel Bernstein.
Yes. Yes, Rachel Bernstein. She's amazing.
I've got her YouTube channel if you want me to put her link in the live chat.
Please. Yes, please.
Okay.
On accident, I don't know how I did it, but about 1.5 years ago, this was so bad. I looked into this application she was using to do podcasts. And I don't know what I did, but I did something. And then her videos were being on my channel. They were getting uploaded to my channel. I was like,
Oh.
holy crap. And I wrote to her and said, I did this, but I don't know how I did this. I'm so sorry. And I somehow figured out how to undo it about 3 weeks later. And that was a good day for me.
Yeah, that was weird.
People would make comments under it. I'm like, let me be clear. This is not something I uploaded. This belongs to Rachel Bernstein, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what I did to get him to upload over here. But it's so weird. I don't know what the hell I did to go into this app and get her. Oh, well, it's over now. But I was just so scared. Like, how the hell did I do that? But still, she's got a very, very good style in the podcast she does. What I love about podcasts is that you can be doing something else and listen to them. Maybe something around the house, maybe an art project,
Yeah.
maybe walking the dog, taking your own walk, and listening to these podcasts. There's a guy named Michael who has a channel called Shunned, and he does podcasts every so often, maybe monthly or so. He actually got asked to speak at ICSA, International Cultic Association,
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, and I was really proud that he was there. And he got to speak. He's like, the last time I did anything like this was in the Kingdom Hall. I think I'm nervous, but I'm just going to go on anyways. Because he was actually in front of a pulpit talking to a live audience, and that was pretty cool. So he had a whole podcast of his own before he started the podcast called Shunned. I think it was called a JW Life or something like that. And he talks about his story. And he came to a place of realizing that he had ADHD, which he didn't know beforehand. He and his wife had gotten boggled down in debt, and they chose to do, as much work as possible to pay off this debt, which meant they missed a lot of meetings, okay? So they were missing meetings, listening to these different podcasts, so they were having different information come to them. And over time, they just kind of, after getting so much flack for not being at every meeting and such, they ended up choosing to leave an assembly and no longer being a part of it any longer. So he has also a Facebook group as well. Let me see if I can find their channel, because I am all about promoting really good channels, people.
Dallas has entered the building.
Oh, I have to not let him in.
He's in the live chat.
Oh, okay. In the live chat, is he backstage?
I don't see him backstage, but I just see him in the live chat. So he's saying, hi, y'all. Hi, Linda. Hi, Matthew.
Hello, Dallas.
Hey, Dallas.
Hello.
It's called Shunned Podcast. Now I'm going to view the channel and get the link for it. Actually, I'm going to see if he has his own, because I kind of wanted to turn you guys on to his other one that he,
Yeah.
the JW Life. I don't see it here, so I'll look it up another time. But this is a really good podcast. This is one of those podcasts that'll go on for 2 or 3 hours. But before you know it, as you're doing other things or just relaxing and listening, it's already over. Like, it's amazing how quickly it will go. He interviews people very well. He gives us commentary. He's also became a coach as well.
Yeah, well, I often listen to the YouTube live streams while I'm working or doing other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, Purple. I find that the long form, putting on like 3 hours, where it's not interrupted, is actually quite comforting, eh?
I enjoy it.
Well, it's, Major and I host the stream on my channel every Wednesday, and we usually go a minimum of 2 hours, but sometimes we've gone 3.5, 4 hours. Just depends how much everybody's got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do I want to say? Yeah, it inspires me to do a live stream. I haven't done one yet. I sort of set it up and sort of thought it was quite complicated to do, and I've gotten a bit afraid of doing it. But at the same time, it interests me very much. There's a stream called VDO Ninja. So you set it up, and then you give persons the Ninja.
Yeah, well, I use StreamYard just because that's easy. I have taught people StreamYard, and within an hour, they're ready to host their own streams. I have had to do that during the Christmas marathons at times that the only people available had never streamed before.
Okay.
Is it a subscription?
Yeah. I do understand they've hiked the rates rather considerably. I think they still have a free level.
Yeah, they do still have a free level, but you don't really get much for it.
Okay. I apparently am grandfathered in that for like 4 years now. Every year they keep renewing me at the same rate. So as long as I can keep it at the discount rate I'm getting, I'm good with it. But I understand from other people that they've hiked the rates up quite a bit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still getting it for under $100 a year.
That's
don't
beautiful.
let that go. If you let it go, you'll get the higher rate.
That's right. So you were one of the first people that signed up for StreamYard, probably.
Yeah, well, I started doing it 7 years ago.
Okay. So I have been able to, this year, starting since October of last year, I've been able to use the StreamYard through Vern and Shauna Fixing My Faith channel. So they have a couple of seats and they let me use one. So I've been using their StreamYard rather than having my own, and it costing me money. So they're going to change to a different streaming software type. So I'll be changing to a different software type, and there'll be just a bit of adjustments of me learning how to use it. But it'll be everything I've looked into about it, it's very similar to StreamYard. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've also got a weird level that, it's like in between the two levels of subscriptions they offer. And it's like no one else can ever seem to find the level I've got it at.
Yeah.
So it's like I can have up to 10 people on the panel, but I can only have one person other than myself who's got administrator level.
Okay.
So that's, Mage runs streams on his own channel through mine.
Yeah.
But, I wasn't able to add another moderator after that.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool when that's able to be done and it doesn't affect what you're going to do anyways.
Yep.
That's really cool. Very, very cool. They had offered the year before for me to be able to use theirs, and I had already paid the subscription for a year. So when it came back up for my renewal of my subscription, I'm like, does the offer still stand? And they're like, let me check. And so they did, and they said yes. So Shauna just recently told me that they're going to switch over to something else, probably. So that will be happening. But I don't see any reason why everything wouldn't work pretty much the same as it has been. But if you all notice a little glitches or something, that might be why. The thing about recovering from abusive relationships and abusive groups and stuff like that is we tend to become very codependent. And what I mean by codependent is we're not okay until they're okay.
Yep.
Okay, that the perpetrator or the group leadership or whatever it is. So it stops us from growing because our whole existence is dependent upon their mood and whether they're satisfied. Because when they're not, there's hell to pay and we get the consequences. And it's definitely our fault, according to them. We later find out in our healing that that was an unfair burden that they put on us, and it was actually their responsibility. Okay? So part of our healing is finding out that we don't have to take that place of making sure our perpetrators are okay. That can also be considered what's called enmeshed, where we don't have a sense of where we end and they begin. Enmeshed is like we're kind of enmeshed together, so we don't have a sense of like our own individual self without being almost attached at the hip with our perpetrator. So they create a situation where they want you to believe that you will not survive without your dependence upon them. That's very vital for them to set up something to where you are dependent upon them for money or housing or anything that is of survival. And they'll sabotage things like your job or maybe your phone. And so these are things that would help you develop your own identity, would develop your own sense of self in a good, confident way. But what happens is when they keep you dependent upon them, your self-conscience, your self-confidence is very low. If you're a child and dependent upon parents, that's a different situation. But as an adult and you are dependent upon a group or a partner or, any other kind of situation like that, it makes it to where your growth becomes stuck. And that's what's considered, what is that called? Something like stolen development, where they're something development. I can't think of the name right now. It's going to come to me. And Purple's probably going to remember it any minute now. Arrested development. Okay, there it is. So your development becomes arrested. Picture it being put in jail and it just laying dormant for a while. So you don't grow so well. Dehydra's talking about she lives in Connecticut. Okay. So what happens then is your sense of growth, your sense of wisdom doesn't get to happen. So when you leave an abusive relationship, statistically, 7 out of 10 times somebody will return to their abusive partner. That's statistics. So when you hear about somebody leaving a cult and then joining another one, or leaving an abusive partner and finding themselves in another one, that's very common. Or going back to their original partner, that's very common. And I tend to think of it as not necessarily getting back together with them because of, let's say, the beatings that they received. But I think of it as an addiction to the cycle of abuse. So within the cycle of abuse, there's a time of like things are calm, then things get very stressed out, and then there's an explosion. And
Yeah.
at that explosion time, that's where some of the abuse might come in. It might be physical, it might be spiritual, it might be verbal abuse, okay? And then there's the honeymoon stage, okay? And then back to the tension. And some abuse wheels will show other more than just that. My belief is that the hormones or the different things that get released in your brain during these different cycles of the abuse wheel
Mhm.
is really what they're addicted to and what they miss in their brain. So I don't see them as going back to because they want to be abused, but because they're actually withdrawing from the hormones that get released when they go through this cycle of abuse. If that makes sense, that's my theory.
Yep.
It's a theory. It's just my belief. It's not fact. It could be fact, but I've seen a few things that confirm that, but I don't have it to show you. But it's just my theory.
Mhm.
I'm going to be closing out here within the next half hour.
Damn it! Looks like I lost one of my short stories.
Oh no.
Oh, damn.
You know what? Just like Matthew told you earlier, it's within you. You'll be
Yep.
able to retrieve from that same area. I've been meaning to tell this to Matthew. The business you used to have, Matthew, that
Yeah.
you let go of, I've been meaning to tell you something very similar to what you told Great Wolf. Whatever
Oh,
that
yeah.
was in you, whatever that was in you is still in you to create that again. And that's something that I just wanted to tell you that you still have it. You still have it. What it
Thank
takes
you.
to do that again.
Yeah, that was emerging AI and internet backbone. Yeah, it was very interesting because that took me into Vatican. It took me into government. You had to take oath of secrecy. You had to work with Central Intelligence officers. In fact, they had an office in the business where I was working. It's a closed room, and they would monitor internet traffic. It was fascinating. That was during the 1990s, eh? So that was microwave links with line of sight. Yeah, but I appreciate the
That's
sentiment. Thank
fascinating.
you.
Well, at least I remember it was the Anu story I lost, unfortunately. It was about the artificial general intelligence. At least I remember one of the more important beats to it. After Caleb died, Anu's is this android androgynous robot, and he kind of fills in the role of a companion as in the form of a child. Well, and it learns as it goes. So it starts when he first gets it. It's kind of like an infant mind, and it learns as it goes over these years. So at the end of Caleb's life, if he's in the hospital, and Anu's right there, where he starts telling him the story of Pinocchio, which is the story he would tell his son. He had lost in a hurricane, and he dies, and they of course treat Anu like a thing. So they put him in the storage locker for the rest of Caleb's belongings, and Priya, she was the one who gave Anu to Caleb, and she comes and get him, and is all these noises came up, and they put me in here. Or what's going on? Like, well,
Wow.
Caleb's gone.
Oh no.
Gone where? He's in no condition to go anywhere. Without me, he'll miss me. No, he's dead.
Oh
He
my
doesn't,
God.
and Anna doesn't understand. And Pride is trying to explain that to him what death is.
Wow. Wow. I also wanted to tell people that if he wanted to go to college now, I know that the organization says that they're okay with higher education now, but they haven't quite said university. But before, it was more like going to a trade tech was pretty much okay with them, but going to a university was very discouraged and spoken of as it's going to turn your child into an atheist or mind control things happen in colleges and stuff. And there are a portion of mainstream Christianity who see colleges as like as that as well. Like Kurt, who was assassinated a few months back. That was
Charlie
his.
Kirk.
Yes, Charlie Kirk. That was his mindset as well. So he would go to campuses to help recruit people, and whatever else happened after that. So there's a portion of Christianity who doesn't want, their followers to go to college, and
Yeah.
as far as university, a trade tech, that's service work. That's usually something more physical than learning things like psychology or engineering or philosophy, which would, as they call it, open the mind. Like I took a class called communications. I thought it was going to help me communicate better, which it does. But what I found interesting about that I learned in that class was that when a culture values something, they don't just use the original name for it. They'll have all kinds of slang names that goes with it. So if you find something within a culture that has many other names with it, that tells you how much they value this certain thing. So there's that. And
Well, that makes sense that the more people are talking about it, the more it's likely to have picked up nicknames over the years.
Yes. So I just wanted to encourage people to, if they have been wanting to go to college and say they didn't, what I do know is here in the US and maybe in other countries as well, there's grants, which is something you can apply for that you do not have to pay back. A grant is something you don't have to pay back. And there's something called Pell Grants that community colleges would have.
Yeah, a Pell Grant is what I got when I went to the tech school.
So I got a Pell Grant as well when I went to a community college, a local community college. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to hang or not because I have learning disabilities, right?
Yeah.
So they actually had a place on campus for people with learning disabilities that would give you extra time in taking tests, that had tutors. I had no idea they had
nice.
these things on campus, okay?
No, I didn't either.
It's like, wow. So
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Pell Grants are given by the federal government, and pretty much it's only based on the family's income.
Correct.
So it doesn't really matter if you didn't get great grades at school or anything. If you're from a low-income family, you should qualify.
Thank you for saying that. It's not so much the grades you got in, let's say, grammar, up to graduation,
Yeah.
K through 12, but more about the financial need.
Yeah.
And yes, they'll want to know what your family income is. So if you are someone who, let's say, has left the organization, you're in your early adulthood, and you're not going to be able to get your parents to sign for this, ask to speak to a counselor, let them know your situation so that it can be handled in another way. Okay, because I'm sure they have other ways if you're no longer in your family's, your original family's household. They might go by your own income. So again, a grant is something you don't have to pay back. And if you are someone that has young children, um, what is also on campus is what's called early childhood education. So these are people that are going to college to learn how to work with um, people that are in school, like preschool, first grade, second grade, like, early childhood education, that the young kids. So as they're learning, they can also take in your children when you're going to this community college and be taken care of by these students who are supervised by their teachers. They have like this little setup that's like a preschool, okay? And it's very inexpensive, if not free. So if you have children and you think that you can't go to college because you don't have childcare, check and see if there's early childhood education happening on campus, because that might be something that could help could help you in going to college and knowing that your kids are right there on campus with you, being taken care of by students who are learning a career that's going to be in the area of what they're taking care of your kids in. So that's a possibility too. So you just don't know until you know. So when I went to community college, they gave me a test. Let's see, dehydrated nurse. Linda has gone through my history on Rick's site before she left, seeing 6 screens. Yeah. Like dehydrated nurse, for years, over the years, we've kind of been following each other's story, kind of, Yeah, so I'll get back to that. So going to college can be a possibility, and you would want to start in a community college, and or see if there's a trade tech school that might have some grants. Always ask if there might be any grants before getting a loan to go to universities or colleges. That's one of the highest things that people have to pay back nowadays, is these student loans. So there's that possibility to look into. Okay, when I was there, I took a Myers-Briggs test. And what that does is it helps you understand your personality type in about 4 areas. So that was helpful. And because of that test, they also gave me a list of things that would be suitable careers for me. And one that stands out very distinctively is the owner of a pet cemetery. Okay? I would be an amazing owner of a pet cemetery. And actually, I could picture that. I could picture myself doing funerals for pets and really giving decent, dignified funerals, and having their ashes placed in different things, or the things that you can offer. And it also takes up less space than an ordinary graveyard. So an animal graveyard would be taking up less space, but then again, it could take up more. But I remember thinking to myself, I never thought of that, and then actually imagined it. So you might be turned on to career possibilities that's never crossed your mind yet. These are some of the things that might get brought to you and help you decide what you're going to be doing in a future career, if you're wanting to do that. If you're happy with what you're doing now, by all means, keep enjoying it. Dehydrated nurse says, look up turbo cancer from the jobs as well.
Turbo cancer.
So I haven't heard of that before, but Dehydrated nurse knows her stuff. Look up Turbo Cancer, TurboCancer, from the jobs as well. She might be talking about what I'm talking about, or she might be answering somebody else.
Another thing for people to look into that I've only recently become aware of is sometimes the technical schools may have free programs. Particularly, if there's something in your area that there's a big demand for, that there's a shortage of. Like last year, the technical college by me here was offering a free welding course.
Oh, really?
Which from what I understand, was actually being paid for by the Ironworkers Union because they were so short on welders. They wanted to get a bunch trained as quickly as possible.
My other daughter, not the tattoo artist, but my other daughter learned how to weld. I think it's amazing.
Turbo Cancer was an anti-vaccine conspiracy theory. By
Okay. I knew I'd heard the term somewhere before.
Cancers
I'm pretty good with the stick welder.
And found. So when you say what did you call it? What kind of colleges?
Technical college or tech schools.
Okay, tech schools. When you're saying technical, I'm thinking computer stuff, but tech school. You learn a trade or...
Yeah. It could also be computer things. They also do like computer programming and courses like that.
Okay. Yeah, see, I didn't know of that either. You might get something in the mail that says like the latest adult classes that are going to be taken or something to that effect, that usually might say that there's some summer classes that are going to come up, or maybe a local pool will be open, and maybe your grandkids or your kids might be able to take a swimming course. Or along those lines, there might be other things that you might be interested in taking. So there's more things to do out there than we realize, and gives us a sense of purpose. It gives us it kind of fills a curiosity, and it's filling our time with something that will give us a sense of hope. When we're involved in something where we've let go of our hope of one thing, it's good to have another hope that's tangible to look forward to and to aim for. And it can even be something such as, those long balloons? There are people that make animal balloons, okay?
Yeah.
And you get hired to go to birthday parties because you make animal balloons, okay? And you might show up dressed as a clown. I don't know what. But that might be your thing, all right? How you would learn it, I don't know. But these are certain things that
in
might
Chicago, they have a clown school.
Do they?
Yes.
Okay.
I know this because this is probably my darkest secret. At one time, I was a member of the Chicago Metropolitan Clown Guild. And I used to do those things for charity picnics.
There you go. Why? Why did you do those things?
For charity. Okay. I went to charity picnics and I did the, stuff clowning around with the little kids.
That's pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Okay, volunteering to do charity work.
Yeah, just leading the little kids in games and things like that.
Yep. We can find out about a local soup kitchen. We can find out about reading at schools. Like I can remember when I was involved in a certain church, and they set it up to where some of us could go read to kids at a local elementary school. And I read Green Eggs and Ham.
Well,
by
also
Dr. Seuss for the class,
with
and
the
it was
clown
so fun.
stuff, I got to march in a number of parades.
Oh, very cool. So there's also an app called Meetup. What's amazing about this app called Meetup is you you can put in the search bar something that you enjoy doing, whether it's knitting, bike riding, mountain climbing, anything, dancing, all kinds of anything. Okay, certain groups, techie people, some that want to plant gardens. Go ahead.
I used the Meetup app many years ago to try and get a group started.
Okay.
And while I completely failed to get a group started, the one person who showed up has been my best friend for the last, 13, 14 years.
Right on.
Unfortunately, we wound up literally moving to opposite ends of the continent.
Oh, wow.
But I wound up moving to New York when she moved to Oregon.
Okay.
So, now we're only in touch through the internet, but
So I'm glad you mentioned these things, Purple. Although if some of you are no longer involved in the organization, when we were in the organization, we were taught to self-isolate. So if we choose to no longer be a part of the organization, self-isolating still comes very naturally. We've been doing it for quite a while. It will come very natural to us. And socializing, even if we haven't been socializing and we think we're doing just fine, there's benefit in socializing with other people in person. This is nice socializing that we get to do here, but to get together with other people in person is also a different level. If you can only do this kind of socializing, Meetup has groups that do this kind of socializing as well, where people are, knitting and talking away, knitting, or crocheting or whatever it is that your thing is, And Purple said that she started a group. You can start a group as well.
well, like I said, I failed to start a group, but I met one wonderful person trying.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
Purple, I've been on your live streams. I thought you do very well.
Yeah, no, this was one of my attempts to start an in-person group.
Okay, got you.
Through Meetup?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to add anything else about ways to meet people, Grey Wolf or Matthew?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask about that.
Okay. Do you have social anxiety, Grey Wolf? Have I asked you that before?
No, officially it's a social anxiety that I have, but I believe it may be more of a PTSD.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it could be both, and there's definitely some overlap there.
Yeah. That's a very common one.
Depending how the PTSD happened.
Mm-hmm.
Being bullied relentlessly in school.
Yeah, well, and
That's
I
horrible.
can see how this would make you be nervous about being around groups of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to be definitely more extroverted than I am now. Today I'm more introverted than I used to be. But I used to be right in the middle of extroverted and introverted. I needed both, but today I need more introverted time. So I have to remind myself that I need to get together with people in person. So that's something that I need to remind myself.
Well, I don't know how you do it, Linda Jones. You're very dedicated.
Thank you.
I still have trouble with the in-person part myself.
I do as well at times.
I tend to like to, stay up sealed in my apartment where it's safe and, only go out at night when there aren't very many people around.
Yes.
But since there's no longer a 24-hour grocery store, I have to, risk it by like 9 o'clock at night to go out and get groceries.
Yeah, I hate that. I wish they'd bring that back.
Yeah, I loved it when I could do my grocery shopping at 2 a.m.
Me too.
And the only people there were the people stocking the shelves, and they didn't want to be bothered either, so they didn't talk to me.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm getting ready to close things down. So I was going to have us all just kind of take turns on saying goodbye. Can we start with you, Purple? If you have anything to share before we close up.
Just as I've mentioned on my channel, Mage and I post a stream every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Purple rhymes with orange.
Purple rhymes with orange. Yep. Same
Okay,
as my name here. That's the name for my channel.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's about it.
Okay. And how about you, Grey Wolf? Did you want to share anything?
Not really. I don't really. I suppose I got my show, my channel, Mage's Media Musings. And I've been toying around with maybe doing a video for my Gardens Happen channel.
What happens channel? Say that
Gardens
again.
Happen. Gardens Happen. It's my other
Gardens
channel.
Happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a gardening channel.
Does it have to do with gardening?
Yes.
Like in the dirt planting?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, I recently since I've been doing research for my story, I came across a video on how to make a survival bow. And the lady in the video was talking about it's a stinging nettle and how to treat stinging nettle. And I was thinking about doing a video on taking that video and clipping out that part and doing a video on that.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Matthew? Did you want to share?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. It's been good to be with Purple. It's been good to be with Mage Grey Wolf and the commenters as well. I think of Sheila. We've got Dallas, Dehydrated Nurse, 68, Eka Mouse, 68. Who else? Jay Mars has also been chipping in. So yeah, we've got a great community here at Linda James. They all root for you. So you've got to be doing something right. So thank you very much for being a gracious host as always. I really do feel welcome here. And I feel grateful and appreciative of everything that's shared in the chat, even if there's quiet moments or if the conversation branches off into different areas, like you say, organically. To me, I feel that the conversation is deeply humane and I find it necessary. So yes, you'll hear me use words like gratitude. I'm grateful for the care, the courage, the clarity that's brought into a space that actually I feel, in my humble opinion, is helping us to heal. It's getting the information out into the ether, and I think it's making a real positive difference rather than just silencing ourselves into oblivion or into isolation. I think what's being done here is very, very positive. It steps forward, and you lay down enough bricks, one day you look back and you find a well-established house, and I think that's what's being done here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to ask you to, I know I'm saying I'm closing up the show, but I just saw a comment from Dehydrated Nurse, and she was talking about how she has brain damage from swelling. There's something you were talking about before on another show, and I remember saying, this is something Dehydrated Nurse went through. You were talking about a family member of yours.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with talking a little bit about that? Because even if I have a disagreement with Dehydrated Nurse about things, she's not making up what she's talking about. This is something that over the years I've watched her go through. She had a very tough time after she received something that helped during that time of when we were all sheltering in place. So she had a very negative reaction and swelled up. She went to certain locations. They told her, yeah, we can't help you. I remember her talking about, she just stood there and bawled her eyes out. Like, you know, it was just a horrible experience for her. And
I did not know about that.
yeah, she's unfortunately, and I, she went through that time span, a large amount of that time span, being a nurse, helping with all these patients, and double masked up every day, and would tell us, you know, talk about how her day went and everything. Um, dedicated nurse. And then after that, the job was saying she could no longer work there unless this was done. Okay. So I'm not sure if that's why she had this done or not, but from what I recall, I think that was the case. Don't quote me. So if you could just share a little bit about somebody you remember, I mean, somebody that you were talking about, Matthew, that had a swelling experience and what had helped them.
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind talking about that. It's to dehydrated nurse. Again, you're somebody that I look at. I don't know what your perception is of yourself, but I look at you as one of the regular positive contributors, just for your candidness. So I'm going to just say, first of all, deep respect, because I can't imagine how frightening and painful your experience must have been. So I want to dignify that. Please, I hope that I can come through and articulate that in the right kind of eloquence. Sometimes I don't have the right words, but I want to say to you and whoever else has something similar, it definitely takes courage to share that. And I tap into that courage and I gain strength from your courage and from your presence. So I'd like you, please, if I may, and with respect, I hope you feel seen and supported, because nobody should be coerced into risking their health. And by the sounds of things, the suffering that you experience, it's real, it's deserving of care, and it's deserving of compassion. So I deeply empathize with you, because being pressured into any kind of medical decision, that just triggers with me the idea of trauma, and especially consequences that you face, perhaps losing occupation. It sounds devastating, whatever it is. I can't know all the details, but it sounds like the experience highlights the typical things that we discuss, like coercion under authority, and it has very real human costs. And I think your voice matters, and I think the voices excuse me, of persons that have faced similar, it really does matter. We should record that, and we should hear that. As for what Linda James is asking me about what happened in family, I have, first aid certification, or I have that training. And of course, now with family, somebody who is in a crisis situation, couldn't just let them go. And of course, being a JW, you put others' lives ahead of your own. So I rendered the first aid. In my mind, I'm thinking, what about shedding? What about this? And as it turns out, they had also had the medicine, the injected medicine. And I did, in my examination, I could feel that they were having a parasympathetic nervous system trauma response. I could actually feel it in my examination. I could see it going up the right side of their body, going up into their head. I could actually trace it in the examination. And I was thinking, you know what, I think I'm vulnerable to this, but I can't just let it go. I'm going to render the first aid. And later on, we did brain scan, and we could actually see gray matter shrinkage on the one side. So there was some damage. Whether it was directly as a result of the medicine, I don't know. Some of these things are very hard to get to the bottom of it. All we can tell you is we can see there's a timeline, there's certain events that happened, and there's certain patterns that look familiar in all sorts of cases. But you've got to go in like Mage Grey Wolf does and have healthy skepticism about these things, because that's the way that we have critical thought. But I came away from that with lead on things with some hypoxia, and I wasn't the same after that hypoxia. It had released in me COVID symptoms, and because of the work that I'd done through Africa and various countries, it turns out I had some underlying pathogens that were in the cerebral spinal fluid, or that were in the blood, and it triggered a cascade and released them, and I believe they migrated into the brain. So yeah, it was a hectic thing. I resigned myself to die. I was in acceptance. I wasn't in any kind of fear, but I was getting caught in those timeless awareness things and some paralysis. And I just thought that was it. I was on my ticket out, or I thought I had my ticket out of here. Family intervened, and they got some very brave scientists, two doctors that intervened, and they applied science, or medical science and medicine, in such a way that was legal and was within this narrowing door. And I believe it saved not only my relative's life from the so-called death machine, but it also saved me too, because I was out of here. So they applied all kinds of radical treatments like nootropic cycling, methylene blue. There was a whole regimen. I was on antibiotics, heavy antibiotics, for a long time, just to try and knock out some of these pathogens, these very, very aggressive pathogens which have been released. I hope I'm not droning, Linda James, but it's quite a story, and I don't know how much your audience or someone like Dehydrated Nurse would benefit from the story. I've got to be careful.
I like what you said so far. There was some intervening. So,
just one thing I just want to address here. Let's see, it is turbo cancer? It isn't a conspiracy theory. It's fact. Big Pharma keeps claiming it's a conspiracy theory. Well, let's see here. I was just kind of looking into this. The National Cancer Institute, Public Health with Communications Collaborative, the FDA, the Global Vaccine Network. They all seem to disagree with this take. Vaccine Resource Hub seems to disagree. But I guess they're all just Big Pharma.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that. And what Dehydrated Nurse went through is an actual thing, and this is her view on it. And she and I might disagree on whether that kind of just disagree on stuff. So I remember that she had not been sick for like 25 years or so, and at that time there was, this was kind of a mandatory thing, and then she had to experience what she experienced. And part of it was like, I don't know if it was associated with that or not, but there was a situation where like she had to learn how to walk again, stuff like this.
Sorry you went through that.
It really sucked. I don't know if it was associated to that thing that we're talking about. She believes it was. She lived it. She experienced it. And I'm wanting to honor that. Everything you just said a minute ago, Wolf, could be, exactly the case. But what she went through, what she lived through was real. I don't think she just sat here and pulled it out of her ass and said this stuff. Okay, I don't think that at all. But what I also remember was she got a tetanus shot, before that 25 years or something. had a horrible reaction to that tetanus shot, forgot all
Yeah.
about it. Why would she think of it 25 years later? Then she had a horrible reaction to this other thing that happened too. You know, my naive mind as a hairdresser could think, you know, maybe it's just who knows what. Okay. I don't know. I'm a hairdresser. I don't know this is not my category of expertise. I don't know enough about it to know what it is. She's
Yeah.
unfortunately had to live through it. And she's a vivacious woman. Okay. A vivacious, beautiful woman. But it took her down hard. It took her down very hard. So a few weeks ago or last week or something, when you, Matthew, mentioned something with your family and mentioned the swelling on the brain, I was like, I just instantly thought of her because that's something she had to go through that was just so agonizing for her at
Yeah.
that time. And so she had, in my mind, which I could be wrong, a similar reaction because she said she
Yeah.
had a bad reaction with the tetanus shot and then this other thing came up. You know, I can simplify it and you just say, oh, she was allergic to it. But what does that really mean? I don't know. I'm a hairdresser. I can't speak of knowing and understanding this. I'm just validating
So,
what
so,
she's gone through.
so we're talking about the COVID vaccine causing the brain swelling.
Correct.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yes, there is a rare risk of that happening with the vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah, severe reactions can happen.
And unfortunately,
Yeah, and just
That's
unfortunate that. Okay.
and that's what she believes is related to what she went through. What I've observed makes sense that those two things were related, and I don't want to ever discount it, even if I'm pro taking that medicine
Yeah.
or non-pro. What she went through was what she went through, and it was horrible for her.
Well, can I put it this way, Linda James? How does anybody know it was a particular vaccine? I mean, people make mistakes. They could have said, "Oh, it's got this label on it," and a mistake was made, and it was some other substance, and it created harm or damage. I mean, there's mix-ups going on all the time. It
There
could
is
have
that
been the
possibility.
actual. Yeah. So the fact is, she's experienced this. We want to validate what's happened. It could be any number of reasons. So yeah, we want to validate that and we want to respect it.
This is interesting. I agree with you, Matthew. She also said that without that medicine, we were not allowed to get unemployment if we refused. Okay, I worked at the front line without that and didn't get it, which is true. Like I remember we did shows for like months upon months, and she every time. And why does she know she didn't get it? Because when she went to work, she had to be tested every time. Okay, so she knew she didn't have it. So yeah there's that.
Well, and yes, I do know that, various hospitals and that did tell health workers that they had to have the vaccine to continue working.
Yeah, and so I
Well,
just wanted to
that does
validate
make sense.
her experience and the effects that she had. And
Yeah.
being that she was here and Matthew was here, I just wanted him to recite.
Can I also provide a positive slant as well?
Sure.
Because although this thing was disastrous and it was hectic as hell, and I haven't even painted a fraction of what happened because, we're on YouTube here and we've got to remember the censorship. That family relative that we just thought was spiraling out of control, well, they stabilized. And they stabilized with the right kind of treatment once it was transparent what was going on, and they reduced the inflammation and got him out of crisis. And I heard him now in a conference call, lucid, functional, back to work. It's absolutely incredible. And this was from somebody that was going to go to a hospital and was essentially not going to come out. the intervention saved their life. So, you know.
And
Or-
it was
or we
like
can do-
alternative intervention.
Yeah, we also we had discovered that the COVID getting the virus is can actually basically reset your immune system. So imagine working in a hospital after having in COVID. You're basically working in a petri dish with no immune system.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting
Are
thought.
you saying catching it or getting the actual medicine?
Getting the actual getting the virus, catching it. If you had COVID, that could actually reset your immune system and makes it you more or likely to get other things.
Gosh. Well, that's what happened to me. I caught it. I caught this thing. And then my oxygen went down. That was it. Yeah.
And I know of someone who has, has caught it, and had oxygen depletion as well. So then I know of somebody else who had the long version. And what's interesting about the long version is people will get depression with it and actually become suicidal. Okay.
I've actually kind of wondered
don't
if I've kind of wondered if I might have a natural immunity to it somehow, because I've been around certain. There have been times I've been around people who I've clearly had it and didn't catch it, and that was even before the vaccine.
And there's those that I've heard are what is that?
Yeah, or I could have had it, and I could have had
Yeah.
it and been asymptomatic.
Well, I think that's the case with Sloth Girl's son. I think he's an asymptomatic carrier.
Okay.
Because I've actually had COVID 5 times, and every time it has been in the week after he was here.
Whoa.
So I think he keeps bringing it to me, but he never has any symptoms.
My brother-in-law
Interestingly,
ahead.
catching it from somebody who's asymptomatic is actually the lowest percentage. It's the pre-symptomatic people that are going to be the ones who's spreading it around. And between the pre-symptomatic and the asymptomatic combined, that actually forms the biggest group of people who are spreading it.
Yeah. I
But,
thought the
just-
chances somebody who was asymptomatic was higher.
But just the asymptomatic alone was like something like 18% or something.
My brother-in-law was going to have some medical work done on him through Kaiser. And that's a preemptive thing before having any medical work done, is one of the tests to find out if they did have that. And he did, without any symptoms. And so they postponed this medical thing they were going to do with him. So my sister and her husband go home and test their son. He has it, asymptomatic. The daughter, she didn't have it. So I know of 2 people who have had it and had no symptoms at all. I believe I haven't had it. But then again, I may have had it and may have been asymptomatic. Who knows,
Though I have been tested for it certain number of times, so I was in the hospital 3 times, twice with bronchitis, once with pneumonia. So they tested every single time I went in.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one other time I did it. A couple of other times I had tested too. Just like a quick test and nose swab.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, even though I was always fully vaccinated, I still wound up getting it 5 times. And,
Right.
at least it made it so I never wound up in the hospital. I just wound up being, at home feeling like I've had a horrible flu.
And the idea behind having it was never about that you wouldn't get it. The understanding was everybody was going to get it, but those that did that pre-work, the idea was that it wouldn't be as bad as it would have been without it. That's the idea behind it.
And also
So-
to kind of debunk another one of these claims about it only had like you have a 99% survival rate. Well, there's a factor in that's being missing, is that how far it can spread. That you have this high survival rate on it, but you also have a lot more chance of getting it. So was a good example was comparing it to rabies, which is almost 100% fatal, but
Okay.
the chances of actually getting it is almost nil. So we
Yeah.
know which one's going to kill more people. The one that if you get it, you're going to almost certainly you die, but you only get to see like 3 cases is in the entire country, or the one that's it's 99% and survivable, but you're going to see hundreds of thousands of people get it.
Yeah, and that's what made the COVID-19 a pandemic, was how easily it transferred. That it was estimated that each person who had it spread it to an average of 8 other people before they were aware they had it.
Yeah,
I
so
see.
you figure 1 in 100 people die out of it, but 8 people every week is getting that 8 people who get it. That 8 people you double that
Yeah,
eventually
well,
you're
it goes up
gonna
exponentially.
yeah.
So from the first person, 8 people get it. Each of those 8 people get it, give it to 8 more people. That's 64 people.
Yeah.
So I
So
wanted
they
to bring up,
tested my blood and they found pathogen in there. And it was an intelligent pathogen that would replicate to 8 per blood cell, red blood cell. And it got into the cerebral spinal fluid, and so it was this cascading thing. So it affected the immune system, and the pathogen I'd caught in ministry, because I was going through all of these very harsh environments, and so the pathogen came from there. So the pathogen is different to a virus and is different to a parasite, and it's got its own intelligence. It's very, very interesting.
oh,
So,
that's fascinating. So I just wanted to take a little time to acknowledge what Dehydrated Nurse has gone through.
Yeah.
And it's been very horrific. And,
I did not realize that she had all that as a result of the vaccine. I remember her being on here and, her talking about, when it was happening.
Yeah, it was a really tragic event. And
Yeah,
it just
I
kept
knew
going
she
and
had
going
been
and
on
going.
the front line with treating patients.
Yes. Yes. And she was a kick-ass nurse, okay? Like, kick-ass nurse. She had this whole floor and all these patients, like 30, went down to like 15, okay? So there was loss of patients. She was there every day.
Yep.
Dedicated, double masked, all kinds of stuff. So to get to that place where, and if I ended up going to an ex-Jehovah's Witness meetup that was local. I told you guys about it.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into somebody I hadn't seen in years who worked at Disneyland and did signs, like the signs that you'll see painted on the doors and stuff. That's what he did. I'm like, are you still working at Disneyland? He's like, nope. He didn't want to take what was mandatory for him to take to still work there. So he quit his job, and I get it.
Yeah, my sister was an RN, and she was working at a extended care facility, and they lost like 15% of their residents through COVID.
And see, what a lot of people don't realize has happened too is how many nurses we've lost and how many doctors we've lost in the process of that timing, of that time. That really wasn't brought up very much. But I ended up talking to a gal from Kaiser one day when I was, you got to talk to so-and-so to so-and-so to so-and-so to get something said and reported. One of them, she was letting me know what a shortage of nurses they have, And so that's also a consequence of that timing as well. But I just wanted to take some time out to acknowledge what has happened to her and that it was, in fact, horrible. And unfortunately, she's at a place where she's at now that's different than where she's at. But what I keep hearing from her is me and my grandkids, me and my grandchild this, and me and my grandchild that. So there's a whole lot of that going on, which I love hearing about. So that's so cool to hear. And that's just a beautiful thing to hear. Go ahead, Matthew.
So, Linda James, thank you very much. Mage Grey Wolf Purple. That's it. I'm going to take a bow out and listen to Linda James wrap things up. No pressure, Linda James.
Okie dokie.
Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody in the comments. It's been really good. And yeah, I look forward to meeting up again.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you guys that have joined me today, and all of you guys from the chat. I'm really always pleased to see how you guys talk to each other, and just how supportive you guys are to each other. Anybody that was listening tonight, maybe never chimed in, maybe never even put anything in the chat, thank you for being here. And those of you that are going to listen to this later, I appreciate you as well. If you found any value in this, please like it and share it. And this is truly a highlight of my week. I am so thankful for all of you, and looking forward to meeting again next Saturday night for this cyber meetup. And I am going to get to the place where we close this thing down. Yes, so I'm going to say good night now, and I will see you guys next weekend. Bye-bye.
Good night, all.
Night.
Good night.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading.